Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. As always, I'm Alex, a.k.a. the Godfather.
I'm Christian, a.k.a. Mecha Planetary Defense supporter.
I am Preston, a.k.a. Funkadelic Jedi.
There we go. All right, well, how's it going, everybody? I know we've been talking for the last 20 minutes.
I know, yeah.
It's going good. Chilling. Got hot. Got hot again.
Man. Yeah.
You say it's hot, but Christian's over there in a hoodie.
He's always cold in my... Yeah, it's 90 plus degrees outside.
Yeah, it is hot outside, but it's cold in my apartment.
Yeah.
What does hot outside mean?
Over 90.
This time of year, it's September.
It's 90 even.
It's hotter than usual.
Hot.
Yeah.
I think that's hotter than what it is here, which is...
We just had three
impressive.
really super hot, heat wave days came through.
In the Midwest got it.
Right now here, it is 88, so it's close. Feels like 90, so it feels like the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's actually...
But
yeah.
You guys probably have way more humidity than we do.
45%. It's actually
more
not humid. I'd say it's really not humid at all today. It's been nice. It's been cooler, so we're actually on the upswing. This past week and weekend,
fall.
It was kind of like in the 70s. Yeah, dude, it's starting to feel fall. I cannot wait because I sweat too much.
No, it's like the exact same
to live here. So yeah, it's
we went to
gonna get warmer and then get cool again.
We went to the beach though yesterday, and that was it cools you down.
Didn't last long,
immediately,
but yeah,
because Lake Michigan is might as well be filled with a glacier somewhere in the middle.
It's frozen all year round.
Yeah, it's beautifully cold.
It doesn't matter, dude. It was 90. Dude. It was like 93 yesterday, and the second your feet touch it, you're like, "Oh, this is ice water."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ted didn't have anything.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I don't know what makes it. I'm assuming that it's because this is just my guess, but because it connects to Lake Huron and then into Canada, I have to imagine
that temperature moves it down.
All of that comes down.
I wonder if because those lakes are so big and connected, do you think maybe it just takes a lot more to warm it up each year anyway? Like it just never gets that warm because
it gets so cold in the winter.
Yeah, it gets so cold it's never able to warm up that hot.
So I don't remember it ever being warm or hot water. So
yeah,
I don't think it gets that way.
The warmest it probably gets is how it was yesterday.
Yeah, and that was it's cold. Let's take your breath away, kind of cold when you jump into it, kind of deal.
Yeah, it's good though. It feels good on a hot
day. So it does feel good in like a hot day.
Do you guys have one of those like winter water jumps, right, where everybody like gets down and
the polar splash?
Yeah.
Every year.
We don't. They do out there.
Yeah, I do not do it because I'm a psychopath. Yeah. But you'll see them especially when I used to drive into work because I used to have to take the lake highway up, and you'll see them line up and it'll be thousands of people, and they'll line up on the beach.
You guys wouldn't do it just once?
Fuck that.
I might just for funsies, but not no.
Yeah, Preston would.
Sure.
Let me know, Preston. I'll come up there. Sure. I'll come up there one year and I'll do it with you.
If you come up in the winter, I'll do it with you.
Right.
Come on, Christian.
Dude, the coldest time in the year, you would never be able to get you'd be like, oh yeah, this was a fun idea I said in the podcast. I'm never fucking doing that. The second you got off the plane, you'd be like, fuck this, I'm turning around.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was doing during your wedding, and I still went through with that in the slush and cold.
Right, and you said I'll never come here again during this time of year.
I know, I bitched the whole time. It was so cold.
It wasn't warm.
Yeah, now imagine getting into ice, like way colder water.
For sure.
It was the only time last year I saw snow. So it was kind of nice, like coming off and seeing snow, but it was the only time.
Not to mention the fact, because of the wind that comes off that lake, it's already cold.
Yeah.
Then you get in and you're wet, and then you get out and it's like blades shooting across, basically just slicing your skin. Oh hell no.
So what's the deal? Like, is there a spiritual thing that people do that for, or is it to like raise money?
So I do think that there's a charity thing involved with it. I do believe that like proceeds go to charity for sure. The other part is that I do believe that there's like health benefits for doing like ice plunges.
Yeah, I mean they do that. Athletes don't do that. Don't get the ice buckets like
apparently. I mean, apparently there's health benefits for crystals too, and I don't have a bunch of those around the house. So,
that's an apparent. This is a known.
I Is it though? It all sounds like pseudoscience to me.
I mean, I'm not.
You totally.
dying
I have
by it,
no
though.
idea. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with you. But
Like,
I'm just.
I get like an athlete in peak physical condition who's like really using his muscles, taking an ice plunge to kind of like rejuvenate the muscles. But like, look, what do I got here? You know what I mean? Like, what
What
health
am I gonna do
benefit
with
am
these?
I
Is it gonna
getting
do this for me?
Yeah.
Is this gonna happen when I go in the water?
Yeah,
Is it gonna freeze and
what
go
am
like
I-
this? I just gotta tense up in the
What
water
am
and
I
my
getting
muscles
out
freeze
of
for the
it?
next 5 months.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. I do think that there is something that I've discovered living here now is winter does not slow these people down. In fact,
They
No.
revel in it.
Yeah, like they love the challenge. Like when someone's like, it's -40, don't go outside. They're like, says who?
Dude,
Like,
half broken like 2-door cars driving around the ice and shit. I'm like, bro, what are
We
you doing? He's like,
saw-
I can make it, man. I'm gonna make it. Okay.
We saw at your wedding, we saw 3 different people riding their bicycle,
Yep.
like in the snow
Yep.
and slush.
Yep.
Oh, dude, you'll see even like you'll see people do street skiing and like all sorts. Like they'll just like push themselves along and they'll just be like, you know, cutting through this, and you're just like, you felt like you were waiting for today. Clearly, like
I got
they
to
don't-
Minnesota one year for work. It was around the time of the Super Bowl, so it would have been February. But they had snow, so like the minute I get off the plane, there is like snow banks piled up everywhere
Yep.
from where they had been shoveling. And you know, it's one of those moments where I'm coming at the time from Florida. I'm like, sweet, I'm gonna have 2 easy days here in Minnesota, right? Like, we'll even see if this training happens, and if it doesn't, like, what am I gonna go do? Go to the city, go whatever. And I remember like all of those sessions were just packed, not a single person missing. I was just, yeah,
They don't
nobody
care.
cares.
Nope.
no. And you know what's funny too is in Minnesota specifically, the Skyway there is like so it connects to every part of the city. That even if you didn't want to be in the snow, chances are you can find a route through that Skyway that makes it so that you never had to be outside in the first place.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really cool actually, but it's only there. But yeah, like with Wisconsin, they don't care. They're just like, nothing will stop me. I'll go do whatever I
Yeah.
want. It doesn't matter. There's even whole attractions built around it. Like further out in I don't remember what town it is, but there's a year where they build a giant castle out of ice, and then it stays so cold here in the winter that it will stay the whole time. You just come, you pay, you go hang out, you can fucking drink hot chocolate and be like in this little giant ice castle, do this thing. There's like slides and tunnels and all this other stuff for kids or adult, like you can be whatever. But yeah, it's wild.
Can you
It's like a whole
imagine, like, for fun, you're like, what are we going to do? We're just going to go hang out at the castle. Like, well, what's at the castle? Nothing really. It's just real cold. We're just
Yeah.
going to go up there. Like, I'm
It's
sure
just
you
made
spin
ice.
it, but, like, when we get it down to brass tacks, it's just a real cold castle. You just sit there and you drink hot
Yeah.
chocolate.
The hot chocolate was good though.
Experience.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. It's the best part of winter, right?
Yeah.
Sure is.
Ridiculous. All right. Well, Preston, what do we got for your corner today?
Nothing for the corner today. Don't have anything prepared, and I didn't see any comments, so we got nothing. There is a Reels on the Instagram asking if you've played Beyond Good and Evil, and if you liked it, and why. We are curious. I'll leave it at that.
So
Preston,
just
I
for
prefer.
just a heads or a sneak peek, I guess. We did end up turning this into 3 parts. So today will be
Yes.
part 2 of our gaming book club. It is good that we did that
Yes.
because I finished like 45 minutes before we needed to hop on this podcast.
Told you, man. And there's gonna be like a whole like 3-4 more hours after that. I'm like, I could do it, but you guys would be playing like over 8 hours today if you were to get that, or 8 hours exactly almost.
If it's one of those things where like if I would have anticipated better and put like 3 hours in like each day of the weekend, it would have been no problem. But I didn't anticipate it being as long as it was, and we'll talk about that. We will talk about that. We have some thoughts. So since I'll be leading that part of the pod, Diddy Bash is not here with us today. He went to boarding, so he is hanging out with other people. The dog's adorable. So
Who,
for
Teddy?
anybody listening. Yeah. Everybody listening? Teddy
He got
signing.
a bath because he was in the lake, so now he's all extra floofy. You want to see his floofy tail? I can't see his floofy tail. It's also floof back there. Look at all that floof.
I just love how
also
he just, like,
was-
his head
like a
saying,
cape.
he's like, ugh.
He couldn't decide. He could decide whether or not he liked the lake or if he was scared of the fact that the water moved.
Keeps on coming at him, yeah. He would get in a couple times and be like,
Bash-
no.
Bash is terrified of the water, so as much as we want like a water pup, it'll have to be this new one.
Dude, there's a
Bash is
corgi
like,
with a
"Nah."
life vest the other day. It was the most adorable fucking thing in the world. I wanted to take him home.
I
was
don't
mine.
understand people, and I think it's just because like Allie attracts the pets that she does, even though I picked this dog. The new one that's kind of chill, but like we have the weirdest, most neurotic pets. So like I see all these people who have like super chill animals and just like I could wear sunglasses, you can throw me in the water, I like to hike with you, no big deal. Like how do you get these pets? My dog's
I
on
know.
anxiety medicine. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, I have to give this motherfucker stress medicine when the fucking fireworks and lightning happen or thunder happens.
Guido is probably the chillest pet that I've ever owned in my life. Like he is, you can just do whatever to him. Like he doesn't.
Guido's
And
pretty
if we
chill.
put him in his backpack, we could walk him outside and he'd just be like, "What's
Until
up?"
another
Like
animal rolls around, like a dog, and it's like, fuck that animal.
No, if he was in his backpack, he'd be cool. But if he was out of his backpack, then he'd be like, "Put me
Dominance.
back in this backpack, or I will try to cut this dog's throat." I don't know why he hates dogs so much. He does though.
Ted's been over once.
Whereas Mage, she has her own set of problems that.
Mage hates
I don't know.
everybody. She
Yeah, except
she
me.
feeds off hatred. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Demon.
anyway,
Demon in that cat.
So what were we saying before Ted popped up? Oh, I think I was saying. I think I was just saying. Since I will be leading that last part, I'll go first
Oh,
with
yeah.
my week because it'll be
Sure.
a quick, easy week. So of course I played our book club game, which we'll talk about. And I have more thoughts this time than I had the last time. So this playthrough was interesting.
Yeah.
I played some more Baldur's Gate 3, and man, I am now 19 hours into this
A
game.
lot.
Community, family out there. I am 19 hours into this game. I
You still in Act 1? Or did you hit Act 2 yet?
Oh, sirs, let me tell you. I have barely done more than the four of us did in our co-op playthrough.
20 hours in, yeah.
Every time I like walk around, so right now I'm doing this weird thing trying to cover the map because like F me, right? Like really I just don't want to miss anything and I'm taking it slow. And every time I uncover a little area, there's somebody to fight. There's a hidden something to find below the building. I got in I don't want to do spoilers, but I came across a couple characters the other day that are arguing with this other person. And so the person's like, yo, like, help me out here. Like, I just side with me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to have to not side with you. Like, I don't know anything about the situation, but like, let's see what happens if I don't side with you. And the person's like, oh, well, F that, and F you, and F for everybody here. And like, these guys wanted something from me, but good luck getting it. And she basically like flips me the bird, and I'm like, no, that's not happening. And I go over to smack this
Wrong.
person up. Disappeared in front, just disappeared. Like literally just disappeared. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I end up making it to where this person was. They have somebody held hostage. I go through this whole rigmarole of helping this person out, saving them, taking care of this villain, if you will. The person turns out and goes, the hell? And I'm like, what do you mean I just saved your life? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I ask you to save my life? And I was like, you were in a dire, like, if I wouldn't have saved you, you'd be dead, because you were trapped and they lit something on fire around you. Like, your option was like death or me save you. And they're like, you ruined everything. I was doing this I was purposely gonna do this to essentially like get a loved one to come back to life, and you ruined everything. Christian, I feel like you've done this quest. You know what I'm talking about.
Very much so.
And I'm just like, I'm the hero, and they're like, no, you ruined it all. And that was just like one thing, and then I walk up around the corner and just find another place to go explore for 3 hours, right? And I just,
Yeah.
I've been in this game 20 hours, and I've barely made it through the first 4 quests of this stupid game.
Yeah,
Which,
so
I hear.
It goes to tell how good it is. I mean, it's amazing.
yeah, I'm like 30 something now in there.
Oh goodness!
I'm in Act 2. I did everything that was in Act 1.
Okay.
Yeah. So the part you're talking about, not any spoilers. Did you fight that whole scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just used a character, turned myself invisible, and because I rolled a perception to see that there was an ambush waiting for me, so I turned invisible, walked behind the person, then shoved him in the middle of the, just pushed him right off the cliff, instant dead.
The thing that blows my mind about this game is no wonder it's in like pre-release for so long, because the tree branches, and like I know how difficult this is to do a pick your own scenario just because of my job. I've built content that's choose your own adventure learning content, and it is not easy to do, right? Like even something simple of like 5 or 6 paths could end up with 70 or 80 different like choices and so on. And in this quest alone, like in the beginning, you have that option of like, who are you siding with in this argument? And then you find this person, and then it's like, do you decide to stick with what they want or go against them? And then is it like, do you want to fight your way through or just let it be? And then like, do you save the person or do you not save the person? And then when it's all said and done, there's some other stuff that happens that gives you like 4 other different choices. And just like, you had to account for a potential 35 different combinations of outcomes for a side quest.
Now,
just like a general like hour-long side quest.
I will say, I think there is something to be said about Baldur's Gate 3 that I wish more people would talk about without like fear of getting like ripped apart for some reason, because I think it's mostly just new players who want to defend some of the early articles that came out of this game. But like there's articles that have been out, right, that have talked about like how there's absolutely no bugs in this game, and it's, you know, it's setting a new standard and blah blah blah.
I get camera bugs constantly, but
constantly. Now that being said, that is not like uncommon for Larian games. Like Larian games will be like this even after all the early access, but if you are looking for a bug-free experience, you need to wait until they ship the definitive edition, which is what they always do. It's how all their other games have worked. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that version comes out, you are good. You will, like, everything will go as it should the entire time. But it's just, like, I think because, like, if you say that now and if you show some bugs or whatever, you'll see people and they'll be like, you know, weird, you must have done something wrong because my whole playthrough didn't have anything, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm glad you didn't have anything. That's cool, but it's actually quite common and normal for like these sort of bugs. And it's also not a knock against them, right? Like it is totally understandable that a bug is going to happen when you have this many plates spinning in the air all at once, right? So like the quest that you're talking about, Alex, like I knocked those people out. Like, so when I came upon them arguing, I knocked them out because I was like, clearly this person doesn't want me to kill them, but like I don't want to just kill them for no reason. So I'm going to turn on non-lethal damage, knock them out, and I'll be good to go. So then I go into the place to find the 2 characters standing there, and when I go to say something to the other character, being like, yo, just as a heads up, I like fought the 2 people that were looking for you, but no worries, I knocked them out. And then the character responds as if they were dead, and it puts it in the journal that they were dead, and it's like, but that's not right.
That's not what happened. Yeah.
That's not what happened. And so, but like, it's random stuff like that, like, right? Like I've had numerous things happen, like where cutscenes will play twice. I had one where like I ran into like essentially like a werewolf, but what happened was it was using another person's body to turn into a werewolf. So I tried to use medicine to like see what was happening with it. I succeeded, and then it still didn't matter, and it jumped out of the body anyway. But then the game, because I succeeded the check, the game was like, well, they should have been able to stop it. So then it gave me another chance to stomp it out, even though the thing was totally there, like alive and ready to fight me. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, so I hit the stomp out button, and then it just falls over and dies. And I was like, what? Like so it's stuff like that, right? Like
the only real bug that I've had is Shadowheart quit following me, and that's actually been a real pain in the ass. That's where I logged off last time. But I went into multiple fights, like 3 fights in a row with me and 2 companions, because Shadowheart would just be wherever I left, and if I swapped to Shadowheart, I can run her and the rest of the group will kind of come to meet me, or I can run her to a battle, but if I don't swap to her, she will just stay wherever she is, and it was a known pre-release bug. I thought they fixed it, so we'll see when I log on next, since I teleport to camp if it's working, but...
It's random stuff like that, right? And they put out new patches like every 3 days. Like they're constantly doing stuff with it. So it's not... Again, this is not enough. I love Larian. I love the games they make. I'm so happy they got the rights to Baldur's Gate. If there was any studio that was going to be able to do it, it was going to be them. All these things. But I just think it's also like, we need to stop being like ridiculous when it comes to... And maybe that's like a side quest that we do one day about the fucking state of games journalism and state of consumers of games journalism, because Jesus Christ, like it's a lot. But anyway, so yes, it is a very good game. I agree.
I'm trying to get to Act 2. I think I am almost I've almost completed the map, minus I have 2 main story quests that are like back to back in the Northwest. So I've almost completed everything else, which means like, hey, I'll be ready to go these 2 things. And Preston, like from the kickoff, like our goal is to help ourselves of the ills we're feeling, right? Like that's the goal.
Cure yourself.
You can kind of cure yourself by like 6 different people, I think, or something, or maybe more. But I've come across 3 of them and have not taken their help for various reasons, just because it's not the story I want to do, and I'm down to just a couple left. So I know I'm getting close to the end of Act 1, because like I'm just running out of shit to do. But there's just so much.
You will be surprised. We'll talk later when you get to Act 2.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I save scummed in that part we were talking about, Christian, because I didn't want to do this choice. Like as my character, I would not have taken this choice. But you want to know what would happen. But I wanted to know what would happen, so I did the thing with the face, and it was interesting. It was interesting. So so anyway,
there's definitely some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Game of the Year.
So this will actually come. This will come to my next thing that I'll say in a second. So I've only saved scummed a couple of times for that reason. Like, hey, I'm playing my character. This is not the choice that I would want, but this choice is so wild. Like, I just want to see what happens. Because the thing that wins you over about that game is how well acted it is. Like, everything's voice acted. And it's just, I love seeing the reactions and going through that stuff. But I've only saved scummed a couple of times. And I've kind of thought, like, I'm glad I got to see that just to know. But, like, I have decided from the other day on, like, I was thinking about this, whatever happens, happens. If I lose somebody, like, they're dead. Like, if I accidentally click the wrong thing and fail it and it starts a fight, like, I'm not going to save scum just to see these different outcomes, because there's so much you can do in this game. Like, I'm just going to let it take me on its journey and see where I end up.
You don't have to worry about people dying, right? Because you still have the scroll of Revivify, and you have, like...
Oh, but I'm talking about, like, if, like, say I'm talking to an NPC... True. But, like, say I'm talking to an NPC or something, and, like, my dialogue is to, like, oh, I'm going to try and wisdom my way out of it, and I fail the check, and it starts a fight, and we kill him, like, it's what it's, right? Like, I'm not going to worry about going back and trying to save them and win that wisdom check again or whatever. Like, I'm just going to let it take me on its journey.
You also have to remember, too, right? Like, you can back out before those checks and use another character who might be better at those roles, right? Like, it won't be... Like,
I've done that a couple times. I didn't know you could do that, but I figured it out for strength, because there was, like, I needed to do a strength check, and one of them was like strength, and then I backed out and did another character because my character is not a strength character, and then it was like whatever species she is, it was like blah 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 strength check. I was like, ooh, like extra bonus. So I did figure that out. But to your point, Christian, Game of the Year is going to be insane because I don't know if you guys have really been keeping up with the fact that, like, not to mention we've had a ton of releases, but over 15 of the games that have come out this year are sitting at like 80 plus on Metacritic. And if you dumb that down, that's an 8 out of 10. That is like Game of the Year nominee any other year. And we have like almost 20 games this year
that are sitting 5 or more sitting above 8 out of 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have multiple over 8s out of 10s. Like even little indie games that like you wouldn't think about or that wouldn't be your first choice are sitting at over 8 out of 10. I'm just like, what is this end of year going to be?
That's going to build your backlog is what's going to be.
Which is good because if you saw the news, SAG-AFTRA, yes, they are looking to see if the union will agree to add video games into their strike, meaning no voice acting, no mocap. So we may go into a content media drought in another year or two.
And I think I speak for everyone when I say thank God. Sure.
I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, because I need some time to dive in. Like even some of these games, even Zelda. I know I mainlined that and got the story that I wanted, but there's so much I didn't get a chance to explore. Like I need to go back in multiple games and do stuff. So yeah. Anyway, so that I played that. I played.
You beat Final Fantasy 16.
Yes, there we go. I was gonna say there were 2 more games. One I dabbled in, one I beat. Yeah, dude. I'll say
and
this.
So did Preston. So you got. Yes. How about you just go right now?
It was first thing in the morning. I had an early phone call that I did not have to talk on. I knew I wasn't going to have to talk on because it's typically not a call I join. I just had a partner say like, hey, do you want to join this call? I was like, sure. So I hop on. I'm like dressed like I am now, right? Like I know nobody can see this, but a peek behind the curtain, I'm wearing pajama pants and a t-shirt, right? So I'm dressed. Yeah, dude, it's holiday pajama pants. Yeah. Allie hates them. She wants to throw them away, and I just won't let her.
They're pajama pants.
They feel comfy. So
tell her that if the penguins go away, her whole wardrobe gets lit on fire.
Shit. That's she'd murder me. But so I'm dressed similar, right? Like that's how low stakes this phone call was. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and pop on 16. I'm just gonna sit here at the desk and finish 16. And dude, I'm at the end of this game. And they do call on me to be like, hey, do you have anything you want to add? And I didn't have anything, so I just quickly said, like, no. And it was a good thing, because I'm, like, over here fighting tears at the very end of this game. Yeah. Like, on this conference call.
It's still new enough that we won't spoil it, but
so at the end of the year.
We won't, but oh boy, like, that... There are things that will keep other games higher on my list purely because of nostalgia. 10 being my first and favorite, like, will continue to be my favorite game. But boy, if this didn't instantly cement itself to being one of the best Final Fantasies ever, like, it was incredible.
That's why I told Press there's takes out there. Like, there's people who like have been saying like, I think 15's a better game, and I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like this is coming, especially from 2 people, you and I, that actually were defenders of, like, I enjoy 15 well enough. I think it's a good game.
Sure. Yep.
But you're out of your fucking mind. Like I don't know. I don't know what hatred train you might have found yourself on. Like what got you there, but seriously seek help. Like I don't know, because that's wild to me.
Clive and Jill's relationship are one of the best fleshed out relationships I've seen in a game in a long time, and even your side characters. The guy,
Gav.
I think one thing with the iPad, Gav was great.
Yeah.
There were times where Gav would. Sorry, I said there were times Gav would be like, "Hey, I'm going to go over here and do this," and I thought, Clive's like, "Yep, go ahead, do it," and I go, MFer, you better not die.
You better come back, motherfucker.
I'll be pissed. You better come back.
There's one thing that I think is undisputed as far as its quality is concerned that I don't think anybody can argue with. This is the best Sid in the entire franchise.
Sure,
Sid's amazing.
Yeah.
This is
Sid's
the
amazing.
best Sid that has ever been in any. There is.
Yeah.
It is. If you are ranking Sids, this Sid is the best one. It is. He's incredible. I mean, so well voice acted.
Yeah, the voice acting is phenomenal. I love that.
Everything about it is just fantastic. Again, like I said, I want to congratulate you both for making it through the PS5 melting sequence. Yeah, that's fantastic. Now you guys know when you both met and you were like, "God damn, you stayed up super late," because I finished it around like 3 a.m.
That game keeps going.
Now you know why. Is because I was like, as soon as that ending starts, you're like, "All right,
Can't stop.
I'm finished. I'm finishing this. Whatever this is." The only complaint that I have, and I know I said this, but I'll just, since we're talking about it again, one of the only complaints that I have that I think. I know this is crazy because it's already a long game, so saying that I wish it was a little bit longer is like a lot. But the only reason that I wish there was like maybe at least like one more chapter is because I think it would be better if you had a little bit more time with the full kit. Right? So like that final power that you get is such a gameplay is such a gameplay changer. Like it forces you to play completely different than any of the other powers that you get before, right? And it's fucking awesome. I think it's such a cool idea. And like I said, Preston, I don't know if you saw or messed around with it at all, Preston, but it's just like Virgil. Yeah. Like he has the Judgment Cup move.
Yeah,
like
you sent me that photo of it, and then I got it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I see
this is gonna be exactly like this, and you build a meter, which makes like your special move go a little bit better, or like the hold down move. I'm like, okay, this is a completely different way to play the game, and I'm like, they're adding you to one of the three, and we're going through. Yeah,
there's so much tech there that I'm like, I just wish that I had more time to explore this on other stuff, because by that time when that happened, like I had the last little couple side quests come up, and then I had already finished all of the hunts by then, and so like. When I got that power, I was just like, oh, okay, like it's really cool, but I don't have much else to use it on.
New game plus
so, I understand. I'm just saying that I think for if you're just doing a playthrough, I think that it would just be a little bit better if it was a little bit longer, just to do that full kit.
I agree, because I'm like you. It was the last thing you get, right? Like I had done everything. I had done all. Well,
that and like that like lead up to it, like that level, if you will, like right before the boss, you get that power, like that ability upgrade. That would have been great to have right before that, because you're going through so many waves of enemies and going through so many battles. To where it's like towards the end, like you want an extra chapter. I'm like, I love this combat, but I'm kind of done with it. And I swear to God, if I have to do more of this like wave base for like 5 more hours, like it's gonna be it's gonna start to wear on me. My thumbs were hurting. I was ready to sit down and watch most of those cutscenes and go into some icon battles and smash X or fucking press the dodge button every once in a while.
I will say too, the thing this game, like 15 did a really good job at rethinking what your summons can be, right? Like 15 had that really big like Titan battle, slamming from the sky and so on, and that was really
this
good.
Game has solved the equation.
This game, hands down, has the best version of every single one of those summons, icons, aeons, whatever you want to call them, that have ever existed. They're all
and they
incredible.
pull
The way they're
used
too, right?
Like,
are incredible.
Like, they pull a little bit from everything. Like Ifrit is definitely pulling from Final Fantasy X, right? Like it definitely
with the
has
design.
That.
Yep.
9 is definitely the Bahamut is definitely 9's Bahamut. Like it is the exact same sort of frame and everything like that. Man, it's good.
There was a moment, and we didn't talk about this in the last podcast when we were talking about like the race on 16, but there was a moment where you go to the desert. It's fine. I wasn't gonna say that. You go to the desert and you're tracking the character down there that has the icon in the desert, right? And you go underground. When that door opens up and you see the palace location underground, that literally took my breath away.
It's so cool.
When I I was like, some of the set pieces that they have are just like the most beautiful things. I saw that and I was like,
Yep.
I don't even want to move forward. Like, I just want to stay here and like look.
Or just that one
at this
spot
thing you
where it's
created.
that circular waterfall that happens. I'm like, that's fucking. Like, they don't know what they're doing with those like world boxes and sky boxes they're putting around you, because they are just
Yeah.
super awe-inspiring. I've taken pictures that I'll never use for anything else, but I've taken pictures on a place. I'm like, I gotta put this down here, because later on, 5 years from now, I'm like, what all photos do I got in here? I'm like, oh, that was really pretty. It does look really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, what were you gonna say?
So the only other thing that I was gonna say is my only other comment about the game, and because all three of us have played 14, we can know. You can tell, like I said, I remember saying this back when I first beat it, and I still feel this exact same way. You can tell that it's the 14 team that made this game, for better and for worse. And one of the only blemishes that I can think of on the game is, God, man, some of those side quests can just be deleted. They don't need to be there, and you are the going and doing that you have to do sometimes, where it's like, go talk to blah 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 and bring them blah blah blah, and you're like, all right, you go do it, and it's like, now that person gave you something to go bring to blah blah blah, and you're like, okay, and then you do that, and they're like, all right, now head back and you'll finish the quest, and it has a little green check mark, and you're like,
Or
fuck.
someone will talk to you and be like, meet me over here, and you have to walk over there to continue the conversation. I'm like, just teleport me, man. Just bring me there. We can say the
Yeah.
walk happened. I don't need to do
It
this.
is-
The most
when-
egregious was in Hideout. The very first one you do, it's like, go talk to this person. You're like, hey, I need some lumber to fix this hole. And you're like, cool, where do I have to get it? And they're like, oh, these two guys. And it's just like a 10-step walk across.
Yes.
You talk to them, and it's like, lumber has been added, and now the green check is behind you. You have to walk back and talk. And they're like, hey, thanks for bringing me that lumber. And you're just like, guys.
It lets you know real
Guys.
quick, yeah.
And you're like, guys,
Why?
I didn't need this to be. Now, that being said, as somebody, like I said,
Someone who wanted more.
your personal tolerance will decide
Yeah.
how much that drains on you, right? So, like,
I did that first side quest, and then after that, like, if you didn't have a plus mark above your head, I did not do your side quest outside of one, which thank you guys for saying, and I must say this out loud for anyone else who's going to play it. Towards the end, you're going to want to do the Torgal mission. And you're going to want to Google it and make sure that you do those missions, because it makes everything worth 1,000 times more in the end. If you want to cry a little bit more, you fucking do that mission towards the end, before the end.
I would argue that. So the problem is that I would argue
A couple more,
all of
probably.
the final,
Yeah.
all of the final missions that you get,
All
absolutely
those
make
companion missions.
they are some of the best stories that happen in that game. The problem is that they are hidden, or they are stuck behind all of those goddamn quests that come
You have to
before
complete
them.
other quests to get those to unlock. Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where, like, when I finished it, I was like, when I finished those final ones, I was like, thank fucking God I did those quests, because, man, I would have been pissed if I missed out on these. But I do not fault somebody for being like, I couldn't do it. And it's like,
Yep.
because there would be a certain subset of players that would be like, I don't like MMOs, and that's why I don't play them, is because I find that set of design boring. And you know what? You're not even entirely wrong. It's just, that's just how those are done.
Filler.
And like I said this the day I finished it, and I still maintain it. For better and for worse, you can tell that it is the 14 team that made it. And on everything that isn't side quest design, and even sometimes main quest design, right? Because, like, there's some steps in the main quest that's like, go over here and go do that, and you're like, all right. But that's really, it's, and again, I think people get sort of confused, like, when you bring up complaints like this on a game, because it sounds like nitpicking, but it's like, well, that's all that's left, right? Like,
Yeah,
and that's
everything
also,
else is great.
I've also maintained that I'm a type of person who believes that when you're at the point of nitpicking a video game is when you're putting it in an upper echelon of good video games already. Like, if all I have left to do is, like, pick at a couple things here and there, then you know that you have a very good product in front of you.
The only thing I wish we had in that game, I wish we could have gotten. So there's one icon not in the game, and I don't. You find it halfway. It has no bearing on the story. They just call it Leviathan Lost, right? So like at one point, Leviathan was there. Leviathan is not here in this game. I would love to know why. The lore was so good, and it would be amazing if like Clive or just any of the characters could have found maybe some sort of like reading or book or been like, here's a manuscript on this. Yeah. And they almost like acted it out and like some sort of scene just to show you what happened. Like because the rest of this was so good and the antagonist was so good, I would just love to know how we lost Leviathan.
I think you will get that in prequel DLC.
Yeah, because
you think they're gonna do a prequel? I know
because
I know they've talked about it.
DLC is coming, but they have not said any and I think this game ends very final. Like there is an end, right? And it is I think that you would do the end a disservice if you tried to go back to it or add something on the end. Like it would be bad.
Yep.
And you have to do so much explaining to try to figure out. So you don't need to do all that. I think it's very clearly going to be prequel DLC or middle, right? Like some like maybe like time gaps or whatever. I guarantee you that it will be part of it. And if anything, that would be like a side campaign that will be like, figure out what happened to make Leviathan, be the lost one, like how that dominant was lost or whatever. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I think so. But yes, I finished that game. The only other game that I played for a solid 8 minutes, and it was Starfield.
No,
so I played
Starfield. Oh, you bought the Gamer Edition.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no.
You did.
So you did. I bought the upgrade and downloaded it on Game Pass, right? So like you buy the Gamer Edition, but it ends up being like $30 because all you're doing is doing the upgrade with the Game Pass, which is fine because I was not going to spend $80 on it. So I downloaded it all for naught because like, yay, I finally got it downloaded the other day. I went to play it today. Then I'm going out of town tomorrow. By the time I come back, it'll just be out for everybody. Yeah. So there's that. I mean, technically it's on Game Pass, so no, there's no way it'd be cloud. Be too big, so I can't play it while I'm gone.
I think it might be.
Well.
I think it actually is cloud.
I'll look tonight. If it's cloud, then I'll play it on the iPad while I'm gone. But in the 8 minutes that I played, it is gorgeous. Period. That's all I got for you. It is gorgeous. I have one complaint.
I'm excited.
I have one complaint. The character creator. It's one of the most in-depth character creators they've done. Bethesda always has a pretty in-depth character creator. You can move the eyes around. You can move the nose. And I made a character that looks actually like very close to me. You cannot have glasses, so I'm a little disappointed.
You can't get like
maybe there's not glasses. Maybe there's not glasses in space. I don't know, but like in the character creator,
everyone fixes their eyes.
It's just like this. It looks fine.
Everyone gets free.
It's just
Maybe you can get gear later that puts glasses. I would do.
Maybe you gotta have goggles or something.
Maybe just apparently nobody in space has eye problems.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
otherwise, it is in the future.
It looked pretty, and I appreciate the HUD and the subtitles, and like when I'm panning around and like I hover over a character, like their nameplate comes off and stuff. It all just they kill the aesthetic. The aesthetic is amazing when it comes to that,
heard basically punk. all the reviews that I've seen have people been saying it's a Bethesda game, so you know what you're going to get into. Like it is a Bethesda game, but it is the most polished Bethesda game they've ever released. Which I think
and I guarantee in less than 1 month, somebody will be able to use some sort of skip the wall exploit to speedrun this game in 11 minutes.
I've seen videos of people getting stuck in walls and shit. Yeah, it still happens.
And that's fine. And that's going to happen wherever,
game that big is just going to happen.
I've had a bug that happened where I had to reload completely in Baldur's Gate 3. So like whatever, it happens. Yeah. It's not like out of the realm of, but I'm just saying I think that normally when Bethesda games launch, it is there's a lot that usually happens, and this has somehow been devoid of all of that, and I'm very surprised because I would love to know how much polish actually went in and all that other, like how many times somebody from Xbox came over and said, no, delay it. You can't do this.
I mean, it's been delayed for how many years now?
I think it only went through like 2 delays. It didn't go through that many.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I know they showed. I mean, it seems like forever ago when they actually showed it off or talked about it for the first.
Well,
time.
that's because Bethesda does the thing of sharing games when they have no business sharing them. Like they shared
like the Elder Scrolls 6
when they had a title
screen.
Yeah, sick. Thank you.
So yeah, so far it's like 10 minutes, and it was incredible in those 10 minutes, and it's going to be another game that is going to be hundreds of hours of gameplay, like all the other Bethesda games I've ever played. It's going to be another game that's already over an 8 out of 10, and we still have multiple games left coming. So
I'll take those points on the Fantasy League. Thank you,
There
Todd
you go.
Howard.
that is my week. Yeah, that's my week. Who wants to go next?
You want to go, buddy?
You want to go? You want me to go?
I can go.
You go
Do
ahead.
this dance? Yeah, well, I'll do it really quick. Final Fantasy 16 happened. It ended. I won't speak too much more on that other than the ending of most of the games I've played within the past couple of years. This has a very definite end. Like there's no like there's not going to be a sequel that happens. There's not going to be anything like that. Like when you end that game, you get the credits, and it's either New Game Plus or you're done with the game. Like there's no you're going back. There's nothing like that. I'm not gonna do anything but spoilers in the story, but like it's just it's done. Like and it feels done. Like you get that end boss, you finish that end boss, and the things that happen towards the end, like that game is done. Like over with. The story's over, and it just feels good to have that. Like you don't need to milk everything that you have for everything it has. I mean, maybe like playing The Force Unleashed 2 reminded me of all that, and I'm really happy to see it not happen with something like this. But like, it's they're gonna get DLC, and that's fine. And I would love to see that because there's plenty of time in between, like that, the demo prologue thing and what happens then. And there's also plenty of history within that world and universe that you could go through and have fun with, and then maybe have some fun after it and make your own story outside of that. To where, I mean, we'll talk about at the end of the year what you could do if you were to make a sequel with it towards Game of the Year once we do spoilers on everything. But yeah, it's a great game. Probably the best looking game I played this year, for sure. Definitely
Also-
in the top 5.
Also, I
It's
just want to
so
say,
pretty.
Fucking amazing looking.
let's give a little shout out to Preston because it is his second Final Fantasy
Second.
game that he's finished.
I know.
So that calls for
Yes, it does. Yes, put it up there. For sure.
I cannot wait for whatever crossover they do with 14 because it's going to be wild. That's what I'm.
I hope all I want is I hope that we get
Get Torgal Pet. I want a Torgal Pet. I don't care if it's a mount.
So
I can ride him. I don't care.
They're
I want
definitely
that.
gonna do a Torgal minion for sure.
Yeah.
They're definitely gonna do a
Got
Torgal
to.
minion. That's a given. I want them also to do an Ambrosia mount.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Like give me
That'd be good, yeah.
Give you the white chocobo.
Give me
Yeah.
another. Give me the white chocobo, but and give it a fucking badass eye patch, and we get punished chocobo, and I want that so bad.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
And also, like, real quick on that, the sword designs in this game are fucking phenomenal because like you get material to make a new sword after every one. Like any like big boss you face, like or any like even big enemy, like you'll probably drop something for you to make a weapon with, and every single time it just like next one happens, like that looks fucking rad. Next one happens, that looks fucking rad. And you keep on using them, you keep on switching it up because the power and everything gets better on them. So you can't upgrade
Yep.
the beginning one to be as powerful enough as like you would need for the big end. I'm sure you could play it just fine with it if you really wanted to, but it's just the look and the designs on those weapons are phenomenal. And I could definitely see them
assume
putting those
you
in
did-
at 14.
You did not go into the end of the game with the most powerful sword because you would have
Probably
had to
not.
complete the hunts.
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
you would have had to complete the hunts to get the.
But I want to
material for
Google that and
those.
see how cool it looks though.
Yeah, so I will say Alex and I are definitely a little bit spoiled in that regard because it's clear it's the 14 team that's doing it, and so like
You will get those while pressing. There's no punchy blades for me to use for my monk, so it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah. But those swords, like I'm looking at them like, yep, that looks about right.
It's the
for
Steam,
what you guys can do. Yeah, and they're all very good.
Yeah,
I
very
agree.
cool.
And this is the last thing I'll say about that game too. So Preston can continue on, but like, there's so much of 14 in that game that like even all the guys that are like carrying the axes, just like general soldiers, are just straight up the Marauder that you
Yeah.
start off with in 14.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they are the same gear,
Yeah.
same color, same everything. Like,
Yeah, it's very cool. Other than that, still playing a bunch of Snap. Got a bunch of Infinite tickets recently the past couple of days. I've been playing a lot of Conquest, feeling good. I got a lot of fun decks I'm messing around with. Surfer deck is obviously doing a lot of justice.
New season?
New season coming up. I'll talk about that here. We're at the end of this past season. We're at the end of it. So like tonight at 10 o'clock, this season ends. Which is
we're at like the end.
And then the new season, which we've already had a trailer for, is Loki of all time. So it's going to be a Loki themed season. So you get Loki's a new card. It's got a lot of great cards within that card. So I'm trying to remember what Loki does. I think he copies your opponent's hand and gives you better power for those, I think. I'll have to take a look at it. But I know he copies your opponent's hand. And then there's another card coming out with Alioth. The big purple smoke monster. Yeah, Goliath. And just like wipes out anything played in that lane. So if you know that the guys like you are both like going after this lane, you put down Goliath, whatever they play that turn, it kills it. And if the card's not flipped, this is the only time ever, I think, that outside of Galactus, that if a card is not flipped, we can still destroy it. So like it doesn't matter what you were going to play, if that thing was going to save your cards in that lane or not, like Goliath is just going to destroy it. So I'm really curious to see how that and how Loki just kind of changes the meta, because it's going to be rad. Like right now, I was talking to Christian. I was playing this new Shuri deck. It's like a Shuri, Red Skull, and then it's a Taskmaster. So your idea is you definitely want to get Shuri out there. She's going to double the power of the next card you play in that lane, which you should probably do a Red Skull. And then so that's going to turn him from a 14 into a 28 if you didn't buff him up anymore. And then you play Taskmaster, which copies the power of that card in a different lane. So you're dropping big buck power everywhere, which you need armor in there to save a lane, because Shang-Chi will fuck my day up with that card, with that deck, for sure. Shang-Chi will just come in there and be like, oh, you like that 28 skull right there? Fuck you. It's gone. And that's probably one of your only cards in that fucking lane. So it's been a lot of fun when playing with that deck as well.
I like how you teetered on the edge of like maybe doing an accent for Shang-Chi.
You heard a little bit of that East Coast accent going in there a little bit, yeah. Just feels good to do, you know?
So I feel like the season was supposed to coincide with Loki, which would have been the case before I think it got delayed.
Then Loki's
right?
like next month, yeah. So they were definitely getting it ready, because I mean Loki season 1 came out before Snap happened, and then they didn't put Loki in there at the beginning. I assume they're like, oh, this will be one of those months that we'll have to where like we'll just wait for season 2 to roll around. It'll be themed around that time, and we'll kind of do it then. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been good. Preston's been feeling good about this game again. It feels good. I'm playing it. It came out in PC, so I got my nice widescreen format. I got my layout for Twitch figured out now, so I'm not blocking anything with my big fat head. It's been good.
It looks good when you play it on Twitch.
Yeah,
I think it looks really good.
Well, 60 frames per second, it's nice, 1080, and well, I guess the stream is probably 720, but still, it looks and feels great, and all the effects and sounds they do and everything like that, they do a great job. Second Dinner, you do a really good job making a card game. I will admit. Other than that, let's see here. I'm only level 85 in that Infinite still. Like I'm stuck at like mid 80s right now, so we'll see if I get there, but most likely we'll have to wait till next season to see if I get Infinite again. Play more Jedi Outcast. Those streams are back up on Wednesdays. I was really worried about that first level. I'm like, if I have to, I'll turn on invincibility. Like, I'll fucking do it. Because I remember the last time I played the week beforehand where I accidentally recorded instead of streaming. Like, I was just stuck right at the beginning of that level. Like, a whole bunch of these little like Sith acolytes or Jedi acolytes come in, and I'm just getting taken down. I forgot that on this level you get the second lightsaber stance, which is a faster, less damage stance, which now you can take on blocking 2 or 3 people at once, and you don't die as easily. So I'm like, oh, okay, I switched to that. Fucking me and Luke Skywalker were fucking killing people left and right, because apparently that's what Jedi do, is just destroy people. And yeah, we're having a lot of fun with that. There was a really fun part, and Christian, you were talking about getting like little clips to put in shorts. This would be a good one. So, in a room, this Imperial base, I think, it's Imperial mining facility, and there's a room that an ATST pops up, right? So one of those little chicken walkers comes through, he's shooting at me. I'm just like throwing all sorts of like bombs at him. And then there's like a little pod that has a couple of them. So it's supposed to be like, this is a drop pod. It drops on the planet. 4 can come out kind of deal. And so there's a spot where it's empty. So I go in there. I'm looking around. Nothing. Then like, okay, cool. For some reason, I either just touch the button or I have like the random idea of I want to throw my lightsaber here. And I ran outside of that pod. Lightsaber got stuck in the wall there in that pod. I'm running up to it. Like, it's not pulling the lightsaber. I'm running to the other side of it. It's not coming back to me. It's stuck in that wall. I'm like, okay, let's run around a little bit. Maybe like go to a different room. It'll like just like teleport back to me or something. And it's making this horrible like metal on metal like sound the entire time too. I'm like, let's walk away from this real quick. So I go into another room, and the entire time, if you pull out your lightsaber with a lightsaber weapon, your hand is just up there like this. So I'm just walking around the map like going, like John Travolta style. And I'm like, oh, this is going to suck. It's going to be real bad if we can't get this lightsaber back. So like I'm going in between like weapons and then going back to the lightsaber, and it's not coming back to me. Like, fuck. I'm like, well, we might have to pull back a save I got that's a little further back, but we'll see what happens. Like I go back to it, I'm just jumping at it like at the wall, and I finally grab it. Like, oh my god, that was a good like couple minutes for like I might not have my lightsaber for the rest of this level. It could be a possible thing. Like I got that bitch stuck. That was stuck in the wall for sure.
It would have been interesting if you lost it for that level. And
yeah,
beyond.
I'm like, well, that's what I said. I'm like, let's see if we might have to beat this level without the lightsaber, guys. We might have to go just pure guns. Luckily, they give you a bunch of good guns. But yeah, Jedi Outcast has been fun. We're going through that. Usually we get about 3 levels in every Wednesday. And I'm deciding whether or not I want to take a break before Jedi Academy or if I want to do just random one-offs. Because I got all those Star Wars games. Star Wars Wednesdays does not have to be the Jedi Outcast or Jedi Knight / Dark Forces games. We can play other games. So I'm thinking like, do I want to do pod racing? Do I want to do like Shadows of the Empire? Like I'm just trying to think. So get in your brains what Preston might want to play. You can send me some feelers, and I'll decide if I want to play those games. I'm trying to stick to the 10 hours or lower games.
Feelers. I'll play Pod Racer. We can do versus.
Yeah, you want to do some pod racing? We can do some pod racing.
I'd do it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I already got it on there, so you just got to download it. We'll do it one Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. So yeah, when that happens, we'll let
I'll
you
bring my N64 cartridge over. We'll get it done, dude.
Well, you don't need to do that because it's on Steam.
I know.
We can just play it there. It's fine.
Thank you for sandbagging.
I also have the cartridge here. It's in box, actually.
I was just being funny. That was it. It was no. Okay. I know it's on Steam.
Okay. Other than that, the last game I've been playing is DLC came out for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. The DLC is Dimensional Shell Shock. It doesn't add anything to the story, but it does add a survival mode, which has a little bit of story to it. So you start survival mode, it shows all of you eating pizza and celebrating as if this was like the end of the actual game. And then Usagi Jimbo's there, and another character who I don't know of, but I'm sure if I looked it up, if I remember to look it up, I would have the information for you, but I didn't. But she's in there, she's more like a hand-to-hand combat type of character, but has like magical abilities. Like I wasn't digging on her vibe too much because her range is super short. And with the survival mode, you get 1 life, and it's kind of like almost like a run-based type of thing. So you're going in, and you're getting enough of these gems or crystals to advance to the next dimension, essentially. So when I'm playing as Usagi Jimbo, it's like a comic strip. So rather than like the original Shredder's Revenge, it's kind of like the old arcade, which you get like a screen, you face some enemies, it says go to the right, you go to the right, you get to another screen, you face a whole bunch of enemies. This one is you get that screen, and there's no go to the right. As soon as you finish the enemy waves in that screen, you get 2 little portals that pop up with some upgrades you get to choose from. So it could be health, it could be I take more damage, but after the perk is up, I get full health back. Or a really cool buff you can get would be the little vial of mutant news pops up, and you can play as one of the bosses. So it'll show like this one's Bebop's vial. So if you want to, you can choose to play Bebop with his own health bar and his move set. And once he dies, you come back to your original character with his health that you had beforehand. And I'm like, that's really cool. So beforehand I was playing, I saw a little Shredder icon. Cool. Jump on it. Bet. Grab a Shredder. I'm taking down dudes with Shredder until I go down, and then I'm back as Usagi. I'm like, this is fucking rad. And some of the new color palettes you get, like the one was like a green monochromatic look to those like the old like I guess it would be like the Game Boy game type of aesthetic to where it just has that green effect to like any of your characters, which is really nice. And you can unlock a whole bunch of things as you play it more because you're leveling up your character, and then you get more life. You get 1 extra continue through all the leveling up, so you can have like 1 extra like revive. But yeah, once you die, it pulls up your stats, it levels you up, and then you go at it again. And you keep on doing that until you finally finish it with all of them, because there's I think 8 gems, 8 crystals that you need to get to finish it, and then they put you up on the leaderboard. Unless the leaderboard is broken right now, no one has finished it. So I know none of my friends have.
They're really good with that game.
they did a phenomenal job with that game. Everything got, I
not only
booted
that,
up,
but
got that
that-
intro again. I'm like, fuck, the intro is just like the old school cartoon intro, but better.
Not only that, but that DLC is currently rated higher than the base game.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
$8
which is-
extra for DLC. That's all it is, $8 extra. Yeah.
Which is super impressive.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time DLC does not do that, so for them to score higher than that is awesome.
Yeah, those new characters you can play in the story mode. So I mean, that story mode is meant to be played over and over again. There's even like a arcade version, which is like less life, less lives, less health kind of
Yeah.
deal. So I'm thinking about going back there with Usagi. Usagi's really a lot of fun to play, and I love that character. I thought it was always cool. I never really knew the way he goes into the actual universe of the Turtles. I think he comes from a different dimension, but
That would check out.
yeah.
Cool
Well, I
title.
think he had his own comic book or whatever, and then like he transferred in because you got walking, talking turtles that are cool and ninjas. And, like, why not have the bunny samurai come in? Like, that'd be really fucking cool. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you enjoy Shredder's Revenge, if you still have Shredder's Revenge, or if you just have Game Pass, you can probably, if you just buy a DLC, I think it was free on Game Pass at one point. I can't remember. Either way, it's super cheap if you don't have it already. Go at it. It's a great fun time. So that's it for games. I start up the show Foundation because I needed a little bit more sci-fi in my life. Ahsoka's coming, and I'm not getting enough of it in enough amount of time. So therefore, I'm like, I need another show. I need another good sci-fi show. Foundation is a fantastic show. It's off to a great start. I'm like 3 episodes in. I think it does a really cool idea with like a galactic empire where he clones himself. So you have Brother Dawn, who's like the younger, like the kid version. You got Brother Day, who is the emperor, and then you got Brother Dusk, who is like the older like emperor, who's like just kind of he's dying off, but he's got his intelligence and his like experience to like pass down to like the emperor. I'm like, this is fucking wild, but it also has its faults for sure. But yeah, it's really interesting how they do all that. The science to it is brilliant. I love it. It's a very good show. If you like it, it's on Apple TV. So if you like that, go for there. And lastly, I watched The Flash. It's on Max. You want to know how good I think The Flash is? It's so good, I forgot to talk about it last week because I saw it 2 weeks ago. That's how good it was. So I am not a fan of this movie.
It's so bad.
All I'll say is, well, I mean, I'll say a lot. But the only good parts of it will be Michael Keaton. Love to see him as Batman, but I think they wasted it away. They should have done it save him for a Batman Beyond movie. Supergirl is fucking
That
awesome.
they're never gonna make.
They're never gonna make. Supergirl is awesome, but she will never be back in that form ever again. I thought she was rad.
And
and
you
she
only
was very
saw her for
short-lived.
like 6. Yeah, so you only
Very
saw her for like
short-lived.
6 minutes. Like, who
But-
cares?
And those are pretty much the only cool parts of that entire movie. I think the CG was overused. As a person who loves overuse of CG, as long as it's done well, it's just they overused it. And I think the reason why people say, "Oh, it looks so bad," is like because they decided to use CG human faces. All right, if you got CG on spaceships, if you got CG on aliens or mutants or something like that, it's not as obvious and as like uncanny and weird looking. But then you have the Flash's mom and dad like there, and they use CG because they want to like multiply them in this weird Time Force dome, and it's like it's really like not good looking CG
No.
as far as like what I want to see when they
Preston.
could have just filmed a person
I-
and then just multiplied
How
that in
bad-
post production.
How bad? Remember, because I talked about the CG too, and I was
I
very
know,
disappointed.
but we didn't get to talk.
How bad was that baby scene? Like in the hospital when the
bad.
babies are falling,
So
and puts the
it
baby in the
looks like
microwave.
Illumination
and-
did that version, that part of the movie.
Yeah,
kinda deal.
yeah,
Like the Despicable
it
Me people
does.
did that part because like the dog is in CG, the Flash is in CG, and like half the time you see the Flash too, it's like you see the fucking removed head of whatever green screen they decided to use, and then wherever they want to put the Flash, it's like Ezra's head going like this and shit, and like I'm like why?
So I haven't seen it. I've only seen like the clips that
Sure.
Alex sent me and stuff. Because honestly, I don't know that there's a monetary amount that you could pay me to watch this movie. But I think that some of the models in that end sequence that you sent me, Alex, I think I'm being nice when I say that it looks like PS2 graphics. Like
Yeah,
if
it doesn't look
somebody
great.
told me. If somebody told me that was a PS2 Flash game that was like somebody had ripped a cutscene in front of, I would have been like, oh yeah, that checks out. Like that looks about right for that time. Like it looks pretty bad.
It looks like TV
They-
CG nowadays.
They cut a cameo at the end, so like when they're going through this time rift, they cut a cameo from Grant Gustin, right? Like they were gonna have him in there. They cut him.
Who's that?
But they kept
the TV show Flash.
the guy that plays the TV Flash. The TV Flash. Yeah. They cut his cameo, but they left in the Nicolas Cage Superman cameo that never happened.
So there is still a cameo from the Flash TV show, and I guess this is kind of spoilers, but like, who cares about spoilers right now? The Flash, we're not too worried.
It's
about
Jay Garrick, isn't it?
It's Jay Garrick, but they went up to him. Somebody went up to him like in like real life and like, hey man, it was cool seeing you as a cameo. He's like, what? He's like, I'm not in the Flash, the movie, because he plays that version of the Flash in the TV show. He also plays the Flash's dad, which I thought was awesome because he played the old original TV show, which I thought would have been cooler if they took the old TV show Flash from back in the day, like I said, because the 80s, I guess as it was, and they were 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, and brought him back. That would be a cool version of Flash to put in. But they put in the other like super old version of Flash with like the metal hat on, which is him, and apparently he was unaware, he either forgot and thought it was a part of the TV show, or they just didn't tell him and used his likeness.
I'm sure because it's CG and you don't see his face, they were legally allowed to use that likeness without telling him, and he probably never. Or
knew. He signed something sooner or later and just thought it was the TV show Flash, and he's like, sure, yeah, I mean, I've been in the show.
Can I tell you?
Never knew.
Can I tell you this? This is where I'm at the state of superhero media, is that when we're in this, I just mean this in general, this is not a specific knock against DC. No. When we're talking about this and it's like going back, I actually felt myself getting tired. I was like, oh my God, I am like, this is like, I'm trying to bounce it around in my head to like think about like all the different, like this person's coming for me and I'm just like,
sure.
Like, oh my goodness. Yeah. Like, they need to do. I don't know what they can do, but
I forget what I saw.
They're gonna redo it all. James Gunn is just gonna wipe the slate clean and be, let's say, fuck it.
Yeah. I forget what I saw, but there was another really bad flop that popped up on Max the other day, and that flop outperformed the Flash. Like everybody hates the Flash so much, like it outperformed the Flash.
Was it original Suicide Squad?
No, it wasn't a superhero movie. I'll have to look at what it was, but
the last thing I can say about
the other day.
Go ahead.
I
was gonna say last thing I can say about Flash is that, so I didn't hate the idea of Ezra Miller first for Flash. When you first saw him in that one scene, I guess it was a Batman vs Superman, to where like you kind of saw him go into the convenience store, the whole lightning thing was happening. That was kind of cool. He had longer hair. You didn't really get to hear him talk or do anything. Like, oh, this is kind of a more edgy Flash. Like I kind of like that. Like I'm down for that. Like change it up a little bit. And then you get like Justice League Flash, which is like, okay, he's a little bit more of the comic book Flash. He's a little more cheeky and like, quippy. I'm like, that's fine because you didn't get him a whole lot. This is all Ezra Miller being that annoying fucking quippy Flash guy, and like it's bad writing annoying. On top of that, you get a second version of him, which is younger, who just goes real hard on the annoying immature shit. I have to do this for the entire like 2.5, 3 hour movie. I'm like, I am so tired of this guy talking, or this person talking. Like, just stop it. Like, kill one of them, please, because I need a little bit less of one.
I have two questions. So one is for Alex, and then the second one is for both of you.
Sure.
Alex, when Preston said that he watched the movie, what percentage scared were you that he was going to come on and tell you that it was a good movie? Or that you were too harsh on it?
Funnily enough, 0, because that movie was so bad.
Bad.
I did not even anticipate in my brain that somebody could come by and be like, it was good. It wasn't divisive. It was just bad, right? So like, honestly, none.
Jake didn't hate it. Okay. Jake thought it was an alright movie. So like, there are some people who think it's just an okay movie. It's not that bad.
Really?
If what I remember, I mean, Jake, hit us up if you want to tell us like your thoughts on The Flash, because I can't remember your review.
Jake scrambling for his phone right now, being like, I have to correct this before somebody comes to my...
No.
So the other question that I have is, because it's so bad, and there's another superhero movie that came out that was also bad. Gun to your head, and you have to watch a movie 100 times in a row. Are you watching this Flash movie, or are you watching Thor: Love and Thunder?
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder every time.
Really?
Because I can do this. I can put my fingers in my ears for like 2 seconds for Screaming Goats. I can't do that the entire film of The Flash.
Because
but I mean, that screaming goat's not the only annoying part of that movie.
No,
but yes,
it's not. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, you overuse the funny, but like, at least I don't mind Natalie Portman and I don't mind Chris Hemsworth and stuff. Like, I never liked Ezra Miller as the Flash. I don't like Ezra Miller as a person, and just the general story. Yeah. There was very little redeeming bits to the story, like that you would want to sit through.
There are good parts.
It was flat bad.
There are small, very short pieces of Love and Thunder that are kind of all right. Mm-hmm. Like, there are certain points in it to where Christian Bale playing Gore the God Butcher, you see a couple of parts and they're like, those are good pieces of what could have been a good movie. But overall, that movie is complete garbage. But, like, there are slight pieces in there that are cool. I love seeing Jane Foster. I do not think they did well with her, but on an occasion, I'm like, it's kind of all right.
My answer to the question is I would look at the person and say, pull the trigger.
Just put me on now, because neither. Yeah.
I would shoot Toby twice.
Yes, sure. Yes. I would reach up and double tap the trigger. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than that, that's it. That's all I got for you. Right. Big week, but yeah.
Mine will be quick, because I did not do that much. So I just 100%ed Armored Core.
Nice.
So all 3 endings are done now, so I have the full package. Boy, that is a good video game.
Did they leave it open? Did they leave it open to a 7? Like, did they, or are all those stories self-contained?
They're all yes and yes. Like, yes to both questions. Like, they leave it open for a 7 because all of them are always left open, and it is also very self-contained. Like, when it's done, the final ending that you get is extremely. It's done. Whatever
is it?
There's nothing else happening in that system of the world ever again.
Yeah. So you nuke everything. Is it?
No.
Is it a good, bad, and like neutral ending, or are they just like 3 different options that you can have for how you want to end it?
So the first 2 are definitely like they do quote unquote good, bad, but they are in true FromSoft fashion. It's mostly a matter of opinion, and your whatever side you end up siding with. Like, I personally believe like there is a good and the other one is extremely bad and stupid. But if you I could see if somebody wanted to be on that side and be like, I get it, like, you know, whatever, who knows. But that's how it always goes with these. The third one is something truly unique that I think they've not done before in any of their games, but has been done before in something like when I had said that, like, it's definitely has like some inspiration from Nier Automata. This ending really goes for it with a very interesting sort of psychological take and like sort of question that it poses at the end that it answers and is like, here you go, like this is what you're doing now. And I will say that there is, man, it's so fun. Like there's a game, like it instantly became my favorite FromSoft game. Like, I like this more than I like Bloodborne. And you guys, I love Bloodborne. I like Bloodborne a lot. But I just like this.
It's got mechs in it. It's gonna win.
Yeah. And but not even just that, but like just like from a gameplay perspective and the story and how it's told and sure. Like, so they do the thing, and this is something that I really like, which is for the repeating story, I don't like when it's just repeating it for repeating its sake. But new missions happen throughout there and new dialogue happens, and there's sometimes where dialogue between certain characters references the fact that it knows you've been here before. Like, it does some stuff like that I think is really, really cool, and I think that that's always awesome when stuff does that. Yeah, not too much to add. I mean, based off what I said before, I really like it. The game's way too new for me to start talking about story. It'll definitely come up in Game of the Year, but... So
is it worth, as somebody that's not going to play that game, is it worth going and just watching, like, the cinematics together, tell a good story, fun to watch?
you should find somebody that does a let's play of
Good
it.
one, yeah.
Okay.
Because the cutscenes, it would be like watching the cutscenes from a FromSoft game, like or from a Souls game. You wouldn't. It would be completely nonsensical. Like you'd be like, okay, I don't know how.
You're also getting a lot of dialogue during the levels while you're fighting.
But you're getting there's a lot of stuff, a lot of story stuff that's being delivered in the missions, and so I think a let's play would be
Okay. Because some games you can
go.
watch, like some games only tell story through cutscenes. You go watch it, you essentially play the game to pause whatever happens in the story, and you pick up where it left off.
Yeah. So this is not that case. So I will say that there is a particular moment that Preston knows of, and I think I talked about this last week. But there's a particular moment that Preston made up that if we had a category, and who knows, we might, but like for best moment of the year, this is without a doubt my number one. It is. There has not been a set piece done this well in a very, very long time. It is, God, there's so much, just little subtle hints of design that go into every single piece of it that you just, like, you don't notice unless you're looking. Like, it's so easy to miss certain things that happen on the end that, oh, God, it's incredible. It's so good. And then we talked about Baldur's Gate. I've been playing more Baldur's Gate, and I'm just basically playing that until I grab Reverie later this week, and then wherever. If I finish Baldur's Gate by then, great. If not, it'll just be paused until I finish Reverie. But Reverie will be happening.
I'll be blown away if you're at 30 hours now and finish that game.
Every single time people tell me that they will be shocked if I finish a game by blah, 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 blah.
It's not a challenge. I'm just saying, like, holy crap! Like, if you are,
I know. I'm just built different. There's nothing you can do about it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But no, so yeah, I don't suspect that I will, and my plan is just to put it on pause, and it'll. Baldur's Gate is easy to pick up. It'll be there when I'm done.
That's turned into my thing with Baldur's Gate too, where like if I have the time to play it, like I know it's going to take me so long to experience what I want to experience and beat it. Like I'm fine with it. So you pick it up, you play it when you can. Other things when you can't. So
I'm just waiting for all of us to play.
Yeah, we definitely need another playthrough.
Well, Jake just got back, so we need to schedule another one. But
yeah.
So. That's other than the game that we played this week. That is it for me.
There you go.
Well, with that, then let's talk about the game we played this week, which is going to be part 2 of our video game book club, Beyond Good and Evil, where we made our way through the factory and we decided to stop after the slaughterhouse.
Yes, we did.
So not as much happens. I think tonight might go a little bit quicker. However, I do have a lot of thoughts.
We all have a lot of thoughts.
Section.
Yes. So I just want to say really quick for the factory, I discovered in true me fashion, I discovered what would be an A-class bug in this game that is completely repeatable. And if my PS3 had a way to record footage, I would have taken like a clip of it to send to Preston to put in here, but I'll just describe it, and you at home can go and do the same thing, and it will work. I did it like 15 times just to prove to it. I brought Alexa in, I was showing, I did it enough times that I was like, because that's just how my brain works when I break stuff, and I want to see how often I can get it to trigger again. It's 100% repeatable. It works every single time. So there's a section in the factory where you are, the first time that you are strafing one of the walls, and I don't want to spoil it because I know you'll get there, Alex, but when there's a particular character that is in a window that is doing something that you're like, oh, your mask is off, that's kind of crazy, so that strafe that you're doing right there, if you continue to hold the button, or the stick just to the right with the way Jade is going, and you do not adjust for the way that the wall would curve, because why would you have to do that? Because you're just holding right, and you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you're locked to the wall, so it should just move with the
She'll
wall.
She'll go right off the corner and then down, and you will fall through the floor and just float in a black nothingness pit with 3 blue lights that you will just continuously fall farther and farther from, and it will go for as long as you want. That's it. You'll just do it, and you can do it repeatedly, 100% of the time. And I reinstalled the game, and I still have it has crashed on me 2 more times and froze all the time for this PS3 version. I keep looking, and like some people mention it, but not enough, because there just wasn't that many people that fucking played this apparently. And so I don't know, man. I was worried that I was like, maybe it's my PS3, so I played like 2 hours of Metal Gear Solid 4, and it was flawless. The whole was fantastic. So it's just this game, but man, like was freezing, and then finding the bug, and I was just looking at the screen, and I was like, fuck you, Ubisoft. Like I just got really mad at the company that brought me this. But anyway, sorry. I just wanted to start that off by saying it, but
yeah, I don't know what to title the second part, but the section from the factory to the slaughterhouse was like it was like being trapped in a hell of terrible camera angles and mechanics.
So bad.
It was the worst.
I felt myself souring on this game every minute that went by that I was playing it. Like,
well, because the Black Isle, you're like, okay, first level, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, you're like
it was
fine.
fine.
We did a little bit. It wasn't very big. Like, who knows what like these other levels have in store for us, right? And then these other levels come by, and it's like, no. And first off,
right.
Preston doesn't like stealth games. Guess what?
So
Preston hates bad stealth games for sure.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Because we're just talking about the factory.
For everybody that doesn't remember, so where we left off last time, we left off being introduced to Iris, which is like this underground network that's trying to take down the Alpha Sectors and the DOMs. Which, by the way, I think in the first episode we called them Dom Z, because I hadn't heard it said out loud. It's the DOMs, dumb name, whatever.
They're all about family.
That's all they're doing. They're abducting people because they need a bigger family.
I still think the guy who plays Mr. Castellac or whatever, who ends up just being Agent whatever the fuck. I don't know, Preston, if you want, you can look this up so that you can put a picture of it in, and you'll agree with me as soon as you see it. He looks like the federal agent from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, yes.
Like
1,000. The mustache is there. Yeah.
1-to-1, he looks like the agent from Lilo and Stitch.
I'll play it down there for you.
So, speaking of the agent, that's what Iris tells us. They're like, hey, we have our eye on this factory. We have an agent over there. He's been sending photos, but he's lost. We need to figure out what's happened to him. So head over to the factory, figure it out. So we get to the factory, and we're not going to go like room by room, piece by piece in the factory. Just
no.
Because it's no point. And honestly, these levels are interesting because like they're really not that long. Like no parts of them are actually that long.
No, it's gonna be frustrating to figure out.
Yeah, it seems like there's sometimes like loading screens happen for like, and you just go from like a hallway to a hallway, and I'm like, why put this here?
You're going through a different level to get to that level, which is a different tier of that level. So you gotta come into that level anyways to load in that hallway.
It's like
to bring it to the next level.
It's like you go into a room. It's like you go into a room and then you go up the stairway, right? To like, so it's like, hey, like, go to the second level. You're like, okay, and you go up to the stairway, and then it loads a stairway,
central hall,
and then you and it's like central stairway, and then you go up the stairway, and then it's like, all right, new loading screen now, and you're like, this, I didn't need this.
No.
You could have just cut this part out and had me load into the next room. This is stupid.
I'm glad you say that, because when I was playing today, I had a couple of like loading scenes back to back, like going a couple different places, and I was just like, were all games this bad? Like, is this what we actually lived through in 2003?
No.
That many loading scenes?
Just this game.
I did not remember it. This game has a ton. So
even to its direct contemporaries, which pisses me off because Jak and Daxter has 0 load screens. 0 the entire game. Not a single load screen in that game. You go from end to end. There's not it doesn't load once. And I mean they do tricks, right? Like they hide it during certain sections. Sure. But still, my point is that I'm never sitting there not moving or doing something like it's
you're in the game.
This one you're literally sitting with the word loading, and it's a little green circle that by the end of the game, especially if you're like me trying to do some of the other side stuff. I don't know if you guys found any of the, because there's a total of 4 looters caves. So there's 2 in this new section. There's a total of 4 races.
I did
we
one
had
of
2 more.
That was fun. I actually thought that was a fun side. Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
But all you
My
do
game
is
crashed every time
screens.
I did those, so no, I did not do that.
So, okay, so we get in the factory. The factory introduces us to a couple of things. So, like, we're on our way to find Agent Double H. I don't know why it's called Double H. I would love to know the reason behind it, because Double H in general is just like the dumbest name in general.
Out of
like, just to
all
call
the
it
letters you could have chose,
I think why don't
Double
we
H.
just for the rest
Double
of
H.
this book club, let's call him Captain Quark.
yeah.
Okay,
Quark.
so you're going to find Captain Quark. Now, you do find Captain Quark. He's trapped in there. You get him out,
Kind
and
of.
in
Just
doing
getting
so,
just getting his
Kind of.
brain zapped to shit. By the way,
And he's like,
Nah, totally fine.
Like,
A-
yeah,
a little-
he does.
a little light torture. A little light consensual torture never hurt anybody. Is all it was.
That is exactly what he looks like.
Is that why he
dude.
has a
Like,
lazy eye entire thing? Like, is that just bad animation, or like is that like because he got zapped? the
I
whole
think
time?
it's bad. I think it's
You
bad
know-
animation.
It's bad animation, but there is I guarantee you there is somebody on the internet who's
Oh.
like it's on purpose
Yeah.
because of that.
It makes
Oh,
sense,
yeah.
right?
So in getting him out, they introduce our first new mechanic. It's not really a new mechanic. It's one of our first new mechanics.
Yeah, ranged weapon.
Ranged weapon. So they said, "Hey, Christian, I know you love taking photos of enemies that are running at you. Well, what if we added a gun to it, essentially a little disc shooter?" I don't know. This is what I think. This is what I picture in my head of this disc shooter, and this is going to date me, and I hope you guys know exactly what I'm talking
Turtle
about.
Pizza Van?
When we were kids. No. We were kids. Kind of. It would
What it reminds
shoot
me
things
of.
similar out. So I had a little like silver gun that looked like a UFO.
Yes, and like a little
and
tube
on
on
top of
top.
it, the tube on top with a little like foam discs.
gonna
That's
find a
what
picture of
I
that one.
imagine. Yep.
Yes,
So-
sir.
That's what you're shooting. And you can strafe, but it is the slowest movement on the planet. So you use the same mechanic as taking a photo. LB, you pop it up, and instead of hitting RB to take a picture, you pull the right trigger, and all of a sudden you're shooting a ranged weapon. And very quickly after that, they're like, "Hey, let's give you a mini boss." And the only way to hurt this mini boss is across the room. He picks up Paige. You have to shoot him, because if you're too close, he just blocks it, and take him down. And it is the most infuriatingly slow weapon
Not
I
to
have
mention,
ever used.
like he's like
What's funny
jumping
is-
at you, and you don't realize because it looks like a cutscene. Like there's no way they're gonna let
Yes.
me control the character during this cutscene of
Yes.
them coming down. So I get pummeled on like 5 times. All of a sudden, like I accidentally have my thumb on the stick. I'm like, oh, you can move out of the way. Great to
So
know.
you know what's funny
what's
about that,
funny-
Preston? I would see the jump coming, and I would run to like the left or the right. So I'd be holding the stick, but when it went into the scene to where the jump, it would invert.
Track
So even though I'm holding to the right,
Oh, you
it
came
would
back.
start running me back under him, and it was like, why?
Sounds about right.
So there's some master classes here on how to not design something that I think that we need to address really quick, which is so there is that. So there's the fact that but here's the thing, you can lock this boss in sequences that will never end unless you let the moves play out. Like you
Yeah.
So there's the boss, if it's on these ledges at first, right, it has to either get hit with the disc launcher or it has to do a set amount of range attacks before it will finally come down. But if you just happen to run to each side that it's on, it will keep jumping from ledge to ledge for infinity.
And never
It
do
will never stop.
anything.
It will cast one range thing, and you get close enough, and it will jump to the other one, and you'll just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until, I presume, the end of time. And I think that that's fantastic. And then not only does it do that, but you can... It does not even... If you aren't at the right distance when you shoot the disc launcher, it will not... It
Doesn't
won't
reach
get
him.
damaged, but it won't.
Yeah.
It won't reach him. But it doesn't show or give any indication that that distance doesn't work outside of it not damaging him because the disc just goes through him and hits the wall behind him. So you're sitting there going like, okay, I guess the disc launcher doesn't work.
Or
right?
Work here.
That's what I would...
Yeah.
It doesn't work. This boss doesn't care, I guess, for whatever reason. So then you would stand there and let him do his range attacks where he jumps down at you. Then you come up, and then you realize, oh, but I can't hit him with the staff after a certain amount of time. Because sometimes, for the first couple of rotations, you will be able to hit him with the staff. After that, he starts doing constant ground pounds that Jade can't get through, and so you can't hit him with the staff. So you're sitting there just wondering, like, what am I supposed to do here?
You have to wait till like he uses Paige. So Paige is in here, and he grabs Paige, and you have to wait till he uses Paige as a shield. But then you have to play that game, which is the mathematical game that I love, where it's, are you too far to the boss to run over in time and hit him, or are you too close to where he'll never do the move where he holds Paige up?
The only way you can trigger him to do Paige consistently is by using the disc launcher.
Yeah.
But you already just showed me as a player that the disc launcher doesn't work earlier just because I didn't happen to be at the right distance. But again, if that's the case, if they're not the right distance, put an arc on the disc launcher where it goes down, like it falls past him. So you go like, oh shit, okay, I gotta get a little closer. Don't have it go through him and hit the fucking wall behind him, because then you're just like, okay, I guess it doesn't work. And that's like so stupid. Like, I was so frustrated by this. Just to beat it, and then you get done, and yet again, the game starts talking to me about shit that is either irrelevant at this current time, or gives you next to no information about how it's done. Where you beat him, the fucking pearl falls down in the water way below, and Paige is like, oh shit, dude, there's a pearl down there. We gotta figure out how to get that.
How long did you waste just walking around there trying to find a way down there just to find out that you just continue on the level, you will go through there?
Not only do you go, it is the last thing in that whole place you get.
And not only is it the last thing, but there's a timer going on, so the game de-incentivizes you to even go look for it in the fucking first place. And the other character that comes along, we'll get there at the end of the factory, but the other character that comes along also has a dumb fucking quip when you walk into that room for the first time where he's like, by the way, Jade, I don't know if you know, but there's a fucking pearl down there. You're like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm painfully aware that there's one down there, and I still don't know what it is that I need to do to get there. Now, and there's other parts in this section I'm going to bitch about later, but I'll let you get there. But the last thing that I want to say about this whole fight is I think it is truly impressive that you packed, like, there's so many wrong ways to do a boss fight in one single instance that I was like, Jesus, like this, it's almost impressive that you did this. And I just have to ask, like, I hope that this book club reaches fans of this game, because, and who knows,
I want to hear the defense.
Maybe in the next part, like when we finish it, maybe I'll be like, you know what, that story was all right.
It made it right. Yeah.
But so far, I am like, this game is only a little bit better than Star Wars Force Unleashed 2, and that is just in the fact that it works most of the time. Whereas Star Wars Force Unleashed 2, like, it breaks itself. It is barely... I am surprised that it was even able to be certified.
Being held together with super glue and paper clips,
there's plenty of ways that you can use that to not finish it, like, and you'll just be soft locked and you can't do anything. By that virtue alone, it is the only because I recognize that clearly the PS3 version is borked for some reason, but it seems like nobody had any issues on the Xbox 360, which is totally fair, right? I'm not going to hold that against them, but although I should, but that's not the game's fault, because the original game didn't have any issues.
PS3 is one hell of a system to make games for.
Right, so that's whatever.
Sure.
I can move the technical issues aside that I have with the PS3 version and not hold it against it. But that being said, it is still only just a little bit better than Star Wars Force Unleashed 2. And then again, it is only by virtue because you can play it end to end without having any issues. But right now, I am feeling just as I feel about the plot the same way I did during Star Wars Force Unleashed 2, where I'm just like, none of this makes any sense. Like, leading up to that boss fight, there's a couple of rooms, right, where... when you, like, Alex, what you're saying, when you find Double H, because he runs off and he's like, I'll beat you outside, and you're like, okay, good go, and he barely remembers who he is, and he doesn't, and he keeps getting your name wrong. He's like, yeah, my brain was scrubbed real good, so, I don't have most of my memories, but aye, boss, I'll see you outside, and you're like, okay, and then you get an email a second later that's like, by the way, Double H said that he'll be fine, he'll see you on the outside, and you're like, okay.
Literally is what it says. Like he'll be okay and he'll see you on the outside. Yeah. You're like, okay.
And you're like, okay, cool. I guess I don't have to worry about him anymore. Just for like a few minutes down the road to him be like, yo, hey, I didn't make it out. I mean, I found a path, but like we need to like get through this. And he says something about the enemies that are roaming around, the alpha elites or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, be very, very quiet around them. They can hear a pin drop. Followed by sections of Jade being the most, like, mouth-breathing, loud protagonist. And they don't notice a fucking thing. You can jump, you can do combat rolls. Doors go psh, 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 over and over again. And you hear, I do not see, so I cannot hear.
Next part. So, there's a couple things that happen in this place. So you free Double H, and in the same place, Paige, correct me if I'm wrong, gets kidnapped, or is that
he does?
I didn't take notes. I didn't take notes the same way. So Paige actually gets kidnapped here in the factory, which will push us along to the slaughterhouse because we want to get him back. But we lose Paige, and then we gain Double H toward the end of this that will carry through the next section.
And the hilarious part about this is when Paige gets kidnapped, it's from a section where you're climbing up on some rafters or whatever, and you go in through like this duct because it's the only way to go. And so Paige is like, all right, I'll just hang out here, do your thing. I'm not coming with you. And you're like, oh, okay. There's no reason for you to stay here. You absolutely could come with me, but fine, I guess. So he just waits it out, and you go through these next rooms, and there is no, like, you're going, and you get to the end, and you're like, okay, I guess
it's a dead end twice.
Yeah.
It is a dead end twice, and you're sitting there going, like...
There's an albino rat in there you can take a picture of.
And so then you're just, like, sitting there, and you go, okay, I guess I need to go back...
And on the way back, it triggers a cutscene.
But if you're like me, you're like, I'm here for a reason. There's got to be a door or something I'm missing, so I'm walking around here the entire time, just not realizing I got to trigger something on my way back. Frustrating.
So you're sitting there fucking walking around, looking around, trying to figure out what the fuck you're supposed to do. Because you're like, why would you send me to two dead ends? So if you're like me, and like what Preston said, you're sitting there and you're like, whatever, I guess I'll go back, except what I did was I looked at one of the things one of the enemies, and I was like, maybe I have to shoot him with my disc launcher to, like, get something to happen. So you shoot him, and he goes full fucking red alert on you, and is like, oh god, there's a fucking intruder. And you're like, okay. And I was like, well, fuck, the closest thing I have to leave is the way I came in, so let me just run out there to see if maybe the alert will go away. It does, but it also triggers the cutscene, and so Paige is getting the shit kicked out of him, and like, and he's getting stomped out by these cops, by the way. And you're sitting there, and you're like, and so I'm going like, oh fuck, did I do that? Like, because I shot the thing, and then halfway through the cutscene, I realized, because the sirens are still playing, and the best part is because another bug. Because I ran through while the screen is flashing, red because of the siren lights, there's a red flash going over this cutscene that's not supposed to be there. And so I laughed to myself on, like, the first or second time that Paige gets his fucking shit punched. I started laughing at myself, and I said, of course not. That would be ridiculous if I triggered this. No, what happened was once again, I broke something in this game.
Yeah.
And... and this was my reward for doing so, is a epileptic shock inducing version of this cutscene. And I just, again, I was, like I said, I was going through these parts just being like, I can feel myself knocking points off this fucking game.
I think they did that twice, because it happens one other time in the slaughterhouse where you're trying to get a companion to come with you, and you essentially can walk out a door, turn around, walk right back in, and that companion's with you. And you're just like, why? But, so Paige gets kidnapped, and we get a few things. With that comes some lore. So we learn later on about, like, how our family is gone, and, like, Paige essentially took us in as our uncle and helped raise us and always believed in us and was going to help us make our parents proud, whatever. Good little story bit. But we're also left to our own devices, and as we're trying to make our way through this, the rest of the factory, we're introduced to our second new mechanic, which is the most unpredictable stealth sequences that you could ever come up with. And what I mean by that is, it's not that the enemies are unpredictable, like that would be good AI. The enemies are very predictable in the way they roam around these rooms.
Hyrulean Castle, beginning of Ocarina of Time,
Yeah.
the fields kind of thing. It's that, but
Super
over and over again. I hate that part of Ocarina of Time.
And like, but the part that is super easy. The unpredictable piece is, if they see you, can you fight and kill them? Or if they see you, does a laser shoot you from the sky and it's a one-shot kill and you have to redo it? And there were some sections that I got stuck on a solid 8 or 9 times, and I was just getting more and more.
Every single time I triggered them, I ran. You run to the hallway, you duck down, and it stops. They may have that little
you go
bomb
back.
thing
You
come
go
out.
back to where you came
You go
from.
back, yeah.
Yep.
And we'll shoot on
Yep.
the laser still, but usually the last part of the shoot on the lasers is where you stop sprinting. So, like, you stop sprinting, and then you kind of walk a little bit, and then you crouch down around a corner, and you see the lasers go there. I think there was one time to where the laser was still kind of there. I'm like, oh, well, it's maybe just scanning. No, as soon as that laser retracts, it takes your life. So that's what that laser is.
There are some times, so like you walk up and you essentially hit X and you break their little gas tank, and it just like their gas starts leaking from behind them, and it makes it a super easy kill, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, you don't even have to kill them at that point. You can just run through the game and you're fine. But sometimes you would come up behind them and like you would go to hit X, and right as you lean back to kick, like they would all of a sudden pop around to face you and be like, "Oh, intruder!" Just like, how? Like I came all the way up here to kick you now
because they can hear a pin drop.
Sometimes, but then there's one room that's a circular room where there's 4 lasers, and so it's broken. The circular room's broken up into like a north, south, east, west quadrant, and there's one robot bad guy walking around the circle, and you can literally walk hip to him as long as you stay crouched to get through these lasers, and he never hears you.
It's cone vision at its best, because you're like, there's some sequences where like there's a hidden room in one of the ones where you have to go like under this little like archway, and there's a guy who's literally standing right at the doorway, and any human would like see out of the like, you're right here. I'm right. I can fucking see, but because you're just a little bit off to the side of it, you're like, I can't see you, and you just go right past him, just fucking clomping away in her fucking Converse shoes or whatever, and
the
you
swishy baggy pants.
Yeah, dude, and you get all these little extra hidden room goodies, and then you fucking leave again, and you leave the same way you came. There's nothing. The best part also is that all of these soldiers completely give up as you go to a new room. So if someone was like, hey!
Not even a new room, just if you just crouch behind a box, right? Like Preston said, if you went back
they
out,
can't see you.
But I just mean like
oh, we're
going,
good.
If you leave a room in the alert status and you go to the next room, like a loading screen, it starts over, and it's like it might as well have never even happened.
Yeah.
I use that to my advantage in the slaughterhouse, where there would be times where I get to the last person and I would just run.
Kill
and
one.
Same thing. They'd be like, "Oh, there's somebody," and then it would just be like, "Oh,
yeah." They'd be like, "Oh, there's somebody," and you're like, "Bye," because it doesn't matter. You can't stop me.
And you're not gonna look for me, so no big deal, right?
Yeah.
So, I agree. Those were some of the most infuriating sections, and it's not even the worst part to me that comes up later. But we get to the end, Double H joins us because he hasn't been able to find his way out, and we're introduced to a boss fight, question mark. Essentially, a weird little alien thing grabs a pearl, takes control of the pearl, jumps in what looks to be like a fish cage that has some mechanical legs to it, and then floats up in the air, and you're fighting a floating pearl in a cage with a leg on either side of a hole. Now, the frustrating part here is, I don't know about you guys, this was the final boss, which was 1,000,000 times easier than the mini boss, and I beat this thing in 30 seconds.
You can sequence break this boss and make it so that he can't move ever, and you just constantly... So the way Alex described the boss is correct, but he has these 2 legs, and the whole point is that you have to get Captain Quark to hit one leg to make his leg go up, and then you fucking use your staff to knock him on balance off the other one, and then he falls over, you run over, you use your disc shooter. But the thing is while he's standing back up, you can cue Captain Quark to do another hit, and it will knock instantly his leg already back up, and you can hit him again and and rinse and repeat. You just sequence break him. There's no
4 times. You hit him 4 times, and it's done.
It's done.
So when you do that, you got to get him and move around to the front because the gate opens up after you hit his legs for some reason. You shoot him, the gate closes back up. You got to do that all over again. Like that whole like running to the front, or not even running, because I'm trying to like dodge or like roll towards it, which is super slow. Yeah. And then I gotta press my button, gotta shimmy on over to where the aiming is. It's just bad.
You don't even have to run to the center. You actually just have to take like 3 steps to the right, and you can just hit it at an angle.
Really?
And then you can just hit the leg again. Like, I was barely running. I was just like step. It was insane how much of a waste this was.
It doesn't even look good.
It still doesn't even really. And you don't even understand, like, when you're done, the little alien that was holding the pearl just kind of like withers away, and then your pearl is floating there, and you're like, okay, so I'm gonna so are these pearls that I'm collecting entities? Like, are they mines of some sort?
They gave that thing power.
They gave it power. So, like, what are these pearls? And if they're entities, what does that mean for the fact I'm throwing them in my bag and then spending them like cash? Like,
at a racist garage.
What is like?
Yeah, dude. Trade? I don't know.
Like, what is the outcome? Yeah, exactly. Like, what does it mean?
No, you know what? Is if there's anything that this game is, it means nothing.
Yeah, so we'll march on from there. So we get out, and this is to Christian's point. Once you get to the end here, you're like, we're going to get rid of this place. Like, it's going to blow to smithereens. We're going to get out. You get 4.5 minutes to get out of this place, which is...
Not only that, you get 4.5 minutes because the Double H has a the parasite that he got injected with, he's been torturing with, is slowly turning him into one of the... Because somewhere in this section... You find that the alphas are completely taken over by the Zons. You take a mission report of a... Yeah. Yeah, well, so actually, really quick, because I actually do have a fucking problem with this, did either of you miss the first picture?
Of the guy and the...
Yeah.
The guy and the thing.
Now, I know you didn't because you're following
I didn't because I'm following a guide. Right.
But did you, Preston, or did you know to take a photo?
I thought I did, but I did not. Because I took the photo of him, and it shows the photo like in a weird right-handed spot. And then it leaves the left side as a question mark. I'm like, well, I obviously missed something there. So I'm like looking around for a little bit, like, okay, let's just press on because it didn't say the game's over yet. But I got my level fit. But no, I could have easily missed it, but I did not miss it, no.
Yeah, well, no, so you did. So if you didn't have it when you took that second photo, you are supposed to have that one to the left already.
Oh.
So because there's a room that you could have taken the photo in, multiple rooms apparently. But the best part is that they just don't fucking say anything.
No.
But the second one, they make sure to signpost and go, dude, hey, take a photo of the dude with his fucking mask off because we need it. And you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then you go and do it. And then you're like, they're like, oh, you're still missing the other piece of evidence. We need what's in the black cases.
So,
and you're like,
the worst part story-wise of this is you get to these levels. This one happened in the slaughterhouse. I'm assuming it's going to happen in the moon. You get into the area, the level. Gate closes behind you. The governor's not giving you a code until you get this evidence. You are stuck in here. They are forcing you to do this job. And then they'll give you the code to leave. Until then, you cannot leave here. If you feel like you want to do side stuff, so like, oh, I'd rather do races for the next hour because fuck this game. No, you can't. You're stuck in this level.
Yeah, so the thing there is that So
they signpost every time
They
in
do.
the
They let you know.
in the slaughterhouse, but I think you're right. They don't say anything.
But
'cause
as
you don't have a
overall, like
companion
story
in
wise, the
first
governor
try.
locking you in, or the mayor locking you
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
horrible slaughterhouse place, like that should.
So they don't say anything for this first picture. They don't tell you anything. And the problem is that the like what's in the black cases. My frustration there is that I would have known to take a photo of the X-ray of like what if you had said take a photo of the boxes that are on the conveyor belts, like that they're scanning, right? Because then I would do that. But none of those are brown boxes that are going.
Yeah.
None of them are black cases that are getting scanned. So when you say like take what's in the thing in the black case, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck
Never
that
seen
means.
a black case.
And so you're sitting there, and I'm like, well, yeah. And if you use the camera in any other part of this level where there's like some weird shit in a tube or whatever, it's not stuff you can take photos of. It does not want it. It doesn't care. It doesn't.
Not
It
important.
doesn't do anything.
I will say, so in this one, you're taking a picture of a TV screen when it shows up of the scan. It's a person, right? I'm with you. If I would not have been following a guide, there's nothing in that room to show you should take, because of the graphics and the time, it doesn't look like a TV that's turned off. And if it is turned off, there's nothing to show you that it could turn on.
Yeah.
And by the time you would see this being scanned, you would be beside or on the other side of it. So yeah.
And again, if you had said like
super
go,
easy to
like
miss.
take a photo of when it's scanning the boxes, right? Like take a photo. Okay, I can look around here now that I know that I see boxes on a conveyor belt. I'll know to keep an eye out and see if I can find something that does it, right? But they don't say that. And then the other frustrating part is now I didn't end up having to do this because I figured a way around it. But when you after you clear that second photo and you get back into the main lobby because you have the pink key card and you can go to where the game ends or this level ends, and it tells you like you need to go back to get the first photo. The game expects you to backtrack. It expects you to go all the way back to where that first one is and go take the photo. Now, luckily, if you go into the pink keycard room where you go to try to take a photo of the door and it's like the governor won't give you this code until you finish it up, if you look to the left, there is a TV in that room that you can photograph.
That's the one I got.
That will still count for it. Okay, but so again, this is my point: is that even you following the guy, you could have gotten a different one that was earlier that would have done it, and it's like. I don't know, dude. It was just really frustrating. Like, I was just like, this is... to look at the player and be like, now backtrack because you missed the thing that we poorly signposted is like, woof.
Yeah.
Like, that is rough.
And we'll talk about that briefly in the slaughterhouse when it comes to backtracking. You have to backtrack the entire way out of there.
Yeah.
So we see that there are bodies being shipped in this factory. Now we learn more about what's going on in the slaughterhouse. But yeah, there are people or creatures, humanoids being transported in these bodies. And as we just saw in that last boss, and we know from Double H, there's a parasite that is turning them into stuff, right?
And there's the cutscene that happens where it's like, give me your soul, Jade, and you're like, okay.
Oh,
Shawnee.
sorry.
You
You know what? I even forgot to mention that. You're right. So there is a part here where you essentially it's not a flashback. We connect with this
Hive mind.
alien hive mind at one point, and yeah, it's just a disembodied voice that looks like an alien, like face sucker floating there with all of its arms, and it's just saying like, give me your body. And
then the scene happens again
That's it.
when they're giving the cure to Double H in the bar, like
Yep.
before you head over to the slaughterhouse. That's when you get the audio this time, and it's like, "Give me your soul for his life, Shawnee," and you're like, and then they hit him with the antidote, and he gets completely cured, and you're like, "Okay, well, I guess that's that then."
that was weird. Yeah, that was weird.
I guess I don't need to give you my soul for his life, seeing as how he's saved.
Also, don't
And then
need to
you're
mention
like,
it
but
to
then-
anyone else.
Yeah, but then Jade's like, I guess I'll just keep that to myself and not say a single word
That was
about
weird.
it.
Weird dream.
Yeah.
Weird.
Continue on.
See ya.
Yep. So before we get there, really quick, we have 4.5 minutes to get out of this factory, which is 4 minutes too long, because it's literally you hop in your cart and it's drive straight out. Now, if you want to waste an extra 12 seconds, you can drive straight. This is when you get the pearl. It does not tell you, hey, your pearl is here. They're just hoping, because the camera angles are so bad, left is exit and straight is the pearl, that you're going to go straight.
Yeah.
Luckily get the pearl, come back, and then drive around for 30 seconds going, how do I get out of here? And then you go, oh, there's a door to the left, and you're going to drive out. And that's how you, like, that whole sequence made no sense to me. So we get out, we go back to the base. That's where we find out what Christian was talking about. And then they do this thing for the first time, but it's not the only time they do it, because it happens after the slaughterhouse too. They do this thing for the first time where you're with Iris and at the base and you're talking about stuff. All of a sudden a back room opens up and you go back there and there's 6 pearls. Now, when this happens after the slaughterhouse, there's a dozen. You get 12 pearls. Yep. The pearls don't really do anything other than give you currency. There's not like tapes associated with them. You're not listening to lore.
And they're just like the public donated them.
They have titles on them, right? Like if you look at the menu, they're titled. But it just begs the question, if you're going to give me between that and the slaughterhouse one, which total 18 or 20 pearls, why have 88? Just give me 1 for completing now, give me 1 later. Like, why am I running into areas where I'm picking up a collection of 4 or a collection of 12? Like, I just get about 20 in the game. Why are there 88 of them? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense lore-wise. It doesn't make any sense gameplay-wise. Why are there so many? So,
I'd love to have an answer for you.
Anyway, we leave there, and our next objective...
Collector's gotta collect, baby.
Yeah, but you're not even collecting. Like, I'm not even finding all 88. I'm finding 10.
But you're gonna, after you beat it, you'll go back and collect them all, because you will, spots. Because you love it.
I guess. But that's the thing, like, it's not... You have empty spots, but you're not having to individually collect them. You just have to make it to the 1 X on the map, and it gives you a dump.
And also, the best part is that when you collect one, sometimes you'll collect one, and it'll skip to, like, this is number 40.
Yeah,
and you're like, did I miss 40 before I got here? So is that what you're saying?
No, so I'm following the guide, and I have all the way up to 30. I have a hole between, like, 30 and 39, and then I have, like, 40 to 60. And you're just like, why?
Okay, but that's my point. You're following a guide that's showing you every pearl that is accessible to you at that moment.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, why would you just skip like 30 to 39?
Why?
Like, why?
It's so stupid. Like, because you're just confusing the play. Did I miss some? What did I do? And there's some people who have this Ubisoft created sickness that will reload a save. They would reload a save and go like, I must have missed some. Like, especially back then, before guides were super prevalent, right? Like, you would have went back and been like, I guess I must have missed some. And you would have drove yourself fucking insane.
Yep. Yeah. So, it's so ridiculous. So we head to the slaughterhouse. Now, here was an interesting choice for the slaughterhouse. In order to get over there, you have to go back to... I was going to say Mama June's, whatever the place is. Mama Goes. You go to Mama Goes.
And boy, does she go.
Yeah, you get a thruster that allows you to jump in the hover boat. So you turn around.
And it's the most useless jump ever, by the way. It's just like
I had to go hunt down some pearls just to make sure I had enough.
Did you?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So now you can jump the little red lasers that were blocking off the map for no discernible reason, and you can get to the new accessible areas.
It's like you're jumping like that far. You're jumping like that.
Can I just
the worst barrier in the world?
By the way, took me forever still to get across that barrier because I had
perfect.
I jumped too early.
Every single time I used the jump before that, it gave me no indication that height was going to be good enough to get over that laser. So I didn't even think to try the jump. I was like,
they keep yelling at you about the race. Like, oh, there's a race. I'm like, okay, I'm looking for it from the race. I'm like, where the fuck is the race? I'm like, oh, it's near the lighthouse. Get fucked. It's over there in the slaughterhouse is where the race is at.
Yeah. The best part of it is, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, there must be, and this is how I ended up finding all of these extras. Like, I was like drowning in fucking pearls and currency by this point because I was just running around looking for things. I ended up on all the side stuff because I'm sitting there going, there must be like maybe one of these beaches or something I gotta take that will wrap around and get me around the red laser, until finally I just tried to jump it, and I was like, I'll just see if I can. And this is truly what I thought. I said, maybe I can break it. Like, maybe I can just get around it and jump it, and it will, like, it'll damage boost me, like, through it because I'm at a weird
There's
angle.
no way this world will have a barrier like this small in front of the fucking thing.
Yeah, and then you get right out, and I'm like, dude, the jump, there's no indication that this jump is high enough to get over this goddamn wall. It is ridiculous.
So let me ask then to this next part. So it's interesting. They decided to do a choice, which was they hide the entrance to the slaughterhouse in one of the races.
They sure
How
do.
long did it take you all to find the entrance
2 laps.
to the slaughterhouse? 2 laps?
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw it right after I
So you
passed
saw it
the
right
And
first
off.
time.
someone, I think Captain Quirk or someone does say like something about there's someone right there.
They say
it's
it's
in a
in
corner.
the-
Like you turn left and like you could easily miss.
Yeah. So I did it. I missed it. So I did the race the first time to get the pearl, but I did miss it for 2 laps as well. Like it took me to the third to be like, oh,
because you
there are
see
those lasers.
out of the corner of
'Cause
the eye,
it's-
you can see the little laser. Yeah, if those lasers weren't there, you would not know.
I saw it on the first lap, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that has to be
exactly.
where it's
Second
at.
round, like,
Yeah.
And then I finished the race for the pearl, and then I was like, all right, and then I redid the race again to go and
Didn't even bother.
It's
I
just-
Preston, brother, I hear you.
Didn't even
All
bother
right,
with the pearl.
I do not fault you for what that choice, because I almost made
Well,
it.
I will probably have to go back.
But
We'll
is
talk
it-
about that later.
But isn't it
Yeah.
a weird choice to be like, hey, here's a side activity, but it's
A
also
race.
the entrance to where you're going to go. So you need to choose, are you going to complete the said side activity or just move on and
A
continue
race
the story?
That is probably taped live in that world that doesn't notice you stopping in the middle of the race. And guess what? I didn't make it the first time I tried to jump in there. So I'm like jumping and hitting this wall and then finally get in there. I'm like, no big deal though. Don't worry, you didn't see me.
By the way, really quick, at this point, did either of you figure out how to give? Because I still haven't looked this up because I want the game to try to figure out a way to tell me this. Did you guys organically figure out a way to give your companions
I
health
have
upgrades
not
at
figured
all?
that out at
Yes,
all. I've
so-
just been giving
yeah.
him tacos to eat when
Well-
he gets a low health.
Well, yeah, so I did find a way that you could. I went through the menus and found a way that you could give them things. I cannot duplicate it, so I forget where I was to find it the first time. But I could not figure out a way to give them health upgrades. Now I know how to give them food, and I found out how to give them
and you
a
can,
card.
you can give them items and you can give them cards. Yeah, I know how to do that.
I found that.
The
I have
health
not figured out the
upgrades,
health
though.
upgrade.
Dude, when we beat the game, I'm gonna look it up, and I just want every little defender out of this game to know, the game says fuck all about where and how to do this.
It yells at
but
you to
they
do
make
it.
They make it so that every character won't shut the fuck up.
Did
about it.
did any of you have a companion die?
Yeah, because they
No.
got 2 fucking health
I had-
bars. Health circles
I
and-
had. Yeah, so Christian, if you don't know, I had double H die.
Same.
You lose. You have to restart.
Game over. Start at the checkpoint.
It's game over. Yeah, if your Canadian dies, it's game over.
No,
you
no
restart
revive
the
him.
checkpoint.
No revive him.
No.
No to defeat the enemies. Revive him. You game
Yep.
over, bro. Your
Yeah.
assist died. Escort
you
mission,
guys,
bro.
You guys have unlocked a new anxiety about this game.
bad.
Because I was
bad,
like,
bad.
oh, I'll just have to go give him a cheese wedge if he dies.
No.
But I just never had him die. He always either had like one half or, like one heart left. And
cheese
so
taco.
it was always fine.
It's better when you don't know.
Is it a taco?
It's a Starco. So it's a taco.
It's a taco,
It's a star
yeah.
taco.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a cheese. It looks like a cheese wedge.
It's a triangular taco.
And not even to go farther. Okay, again, what shapes are cheese wedges in? Triangles. What shapes are tacos in? Not triangles. So I rest
Half
my
circles,
case. But-
right? Yeah.
But exactly.
quarter
But
circles, yeah.
on top of that, they even go farther to make me think that it's a cheese wedge because I have to set it to get a pearl. Or to get a bug photo. You set it on a thing, and it looks like a bunch of little mice come out and pick it up and take it into their thing.
That's
and so
true.
of course I go mice and cheese. Like that's what I think because that's what I would not mice and tacos, but that's a whole other
I could
thing.
be wrong, but
So-
I'm pretty sure it's taco.
No, I
it's
bet
a
you're
taco
right.
for sure.
But-
yes, but just so you know, you will restart at a checkpoint, and it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I just tell you, I probably would have because I would have reached out and just pressed the power button.
Like, no, watching the playthrough now.
I think I would have. I'd have said I wouldn't have told you guys, and I would have watched the playthrough, and I would have just been like, yeah, I beat it, and it sucks, and I hate it. And that's where I would have ended it, because that would have made me so mad. And again, I would feel way differently if the first thing that you when you pick up a health upgrade is Paige being like, hey man,
you could.
Dope for you, but we should probably split these going forward. If you want me to pick it up,
but it
just
automatically gives it to you. There's no like you pick it up and it automatically goes in. So there's got to be some other way or some other item you get to do it.
I stood in front of them. I stood in front of it, and Paige was standing right next to me. His triangle. I mashed the triangle button. I was gonna
guess that if you hit Y and it did their action, that's what.
And I was trying to get him to take. It's not. It doesn't show up, and he doesn't say anything. And then you take it, and he goes. And the second you eat it, he goes, "You have way too much faith in me, Jade. If I go down, that's it for me. Like
I'm going to be a burden on you. I know.
Yeah, you're just like
that's the burden.
Meanwhile, I have 13 hearts. I would love.
I have like 10
to give you hearts.
I've got a lot now. Yeah.
I would love to give you hearts, and I can't give you any.
Yeah, and I don't know. And then I wish there was a way. Like maybe I looked through in the menu and I was like, maybe I can reallocate. Like maybe now that I have the upgrade, like maybe I can press something in the menu to like do the hearts over, and it doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, I guess whatever. So I plan on when I beat it, I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna want to know. And I just so that we're clear, I will probably dock this game a full point in my head if we get to the end and there's no way to do it and the characters just say it to say it, which I don't believe. I'm sure that there's a way to do. Maybe there's a machine that you go to later. You wouldn't put that
dialogue there if it wasn't a thing.
But fuck, dude.
Who knows?
Like,
who knows?
I based on Alex's face, I believe he already looked it up.
I'm looking it up now. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I'm not gonna tell you what it is.
No, we need to find out if we can find out naturally.
But there is a way to do it.
Yep, there's a way to do it.
And is there a way to do it starting at the moment that Paige says something to you about it?
Yes.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
5 hours later, still
great.
From moment one.
Great design. Absolutely.
So we're in the slaughterhouse. And same goal as last time. No, I'll tell you how to do it if you're going to look it up. You literally you have to be standing beside them. And then when you go into your pack, a PA will show up, one PA, and you can give them one PA, which is like the thing you pick up. So
how does that work? Because
even though it's scanning it immediately, I guess it's going into your inventory.
Yeah,
now,
but it
if you
applies
give them
immediately.
one, I know. So maybe it takes it away. It doesn't say. So maybe it shows up in your inventory, and when you give it, it takes it away. We'll have to see. We'll have to try it.
I have not seen that up.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
We'll see what happens. next time on Dragon Ball Z, we'll talk about
it. Dude, if you lose hearts, if I have to give...
Out of principle, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving them a single one. No.
If I keep dying going to checkpoints because of that, I will figure it out, but yeah.
So we're in the slaughterhouse, and same thing as last time. We have to take 3 photos before we can leave this place. And I'll go ahead and say what the photos are now. So essentially, we take pictures and we realize... we see a picture of people being transported in boxes. Like all you see though is their heads sticking out, and like
which is basically the same photo we saw in the factory.
Same thing. And then there's a picture of the little like face sucker enemies that we fight in the containers. So it's almost implying that like
they're
either that's the parasite or they're manufacturing them with either people turn into them or they're being used for that. And shit, what's the third one? The third one is it's another container of some sort.
I'm trying to remember for life of me.
I don't remember.
It's another container of some sort, but I forget what it is. I think it's maybe a tub or something, maybe the goo or whatever. But anyway, so we're back in there. This time we do have Double H with us essentially the whole time. And we're trying to get Paige back. So we continue our stealth sequences, lots of them, but this is where we add in these floating turrets that if you're seen, you are literally one shot, no choice to move, you restart the sequence. But again, it's so random. on like which rooms have it with enemies and which ones don't. So sometimes I would get seen and I would have a chance to fight, and I would be like, oh cool, I can fight. And other times it's just like boom, slow-mo shot, time to start it over.
This also isn't your only time to run into them. So in the pedestrian center, there's a little secret hideout that you can get into that Double H is like, oh fuck, I heard about this. This is where they store shit. And you go down the elevator and he's like, don't worry, I'll stay out here. And you're like, okay. And so he's right there, able to press that elevator button to take you back up whenever if you decided, like, when you got down there, you went, oh, this is like a whole thing, and I don't want to do this right now. Too bad, you're stuck. And he will not let you go back up, even though he's fucking said that he'd stand right there and do that for you. So
I did that whole thing, but by the way you say that, I assume you went down there and said, oh fuck, I don't want to do this right now and try.
Yeah, I was like, I'd rather go to the slaughterhouse and finish that instead. And instead I was like, okay, I guess I have to do this fucking part now. And you go do it, and then that's when I first ran into lasers, is because the first time I saw one, it was like bullet time, and Jay just like all 10 of my hearts go away, and I'm like, fucking rad, dude, like whatever. And you run, but you get through that whole section, and the best part about it is that they want you to be like super sneaky and have to like dodge all the different little spotlights and all these other things, and then you always have one patrolling guard in each room. The hilarious part about that is that you can just wait for the guard to turn around and then hit their tanks on their backs. And because that's their weak spot, and the only thing that can get them out of that state is another guard coming and like tapping their back to fix it, they'll just run around and be stuck all the time, and they can't do anything. So you just walk into a room, hit them in the back, and then you can just mosey your way through that whole zone, and you don't have to worry about anything because nothing can stop you until the end, in which case you run out, and then there just it becomes like a Crash Bandicoot, like
it's 100% a Crash Bandicoot run level, like
and
you're running toward the camera.
Yeah, except that there's plenty of times where like it does the really cool thing of just putting shit in your way that you couldn't avoid. Like there's guards that are already right there starting to shoot at you off screen, and you're like, yeah, and then you see your health go down, and you're like, cool, like I was never able to see them in the first place, so how the fuck would I know? Like it's. But either way, that was my first experience with lasers. So when I got to the slaughterhouse and I saw the lasers there again, I was like, hello, darkness, my old friend. Like, I literally was just like, this is, of course you're here. Why would you not be here?
What I love about that run sequence, too, and we're not talking about it just because it's kind of it's a side activity you don't have to do. But if you got hit by one of the floating green lights that, like, slow you down, if you got hit once, you were done. Like they would catch you and you would get shot. It was the worst. So anyway, we're back in the slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse has some interesting random puzzles for no reason. Like you're running around conveyor belts and like trying to run up conveyor belts and other stuff, and just like confusing little sections and montages. Overall, the slaughterhouse has nothing new. It is a rinse and repeat of the stealth sections.
You got a little bit more as far as like where you go around in that area. So it's the whole hovercraft in like in a moat kind of what do we call it? The whole water area to get to each section, because you're going to like 3 or 4 different sections to take pictures, but you're using your hovercraft to get through all this shit.
Good call, Preston. I actually blocked that out of my brain. That was the most frustrating, which was you are going canal piece by canal piece to dock, hop off, do a 1-3 minute section, hop on, drive to the next canal piece, until you get to the end, where you have a gauntlet of like bombs and mines and other shit. But the thing that drives me crazy,
the big ones,
is in order to blow up a couple of these things, you have to push floating boxes into them.
Your lasers and bombs don't do anything. Pushing a box near it, just fine.
And pushing a box that's floating in the water while you are also floating in the water is the most infuriating thing
you can shoot them
I've ever had to do.
This is where I ask, and I gotta know. Like, I want to ask, because there's people, I have heard people hold this game in such high esteem. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, like the Wakanda Forever. Like, is this your king?
Yeah.
Is this like this is this?
Yeah.
This is what
this
we're
is your
doing
king.
right now.
Yeah.
Like, God.
So like
I just
when we get done with this game, like we're gonna go on to that other Discord that we have, and I'm gonna put on there. I'm like, okay, whoever likes this game, I would love to have this discussion with you because I think this game is absolute trash. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about when you're saying this is good. Like, please, like,
Well,
let me know.
so you have to
what I'm
hold
missing.
it. We don't know how it's going to
That's
end.
what I'm saying. I'm waiting till the
So
end
we-
of
we have
this.
to- we have to
I'm
reserve.
waiting till the end. But once it happens,
this would have
boy,
this would have
opens
to
that
be-
can of worms.
This would have to be a Matrix level ending. Like remember when you first saw the Matrix for the first time, and that ending happened, and you were like,
Flies
"Oh
off. Yeah.
shit!" Like, I didn't expect this at all. I would need to be mind blown. Like, it would have to be, and I know it's not going to,
But
but
it'd
like,
be nice.
I'm like retroactively embarrassed. Like back in the day, like when people used to have like the 3D platformer arguments, right? Like where like people would talk about like Jack versus Ratchet versus Sly Cooper and all this stuff. It is embarrassing to even have those discussions now because you're like,
With that name also in the mix.
like because people would talk about that game, and I'm like, it should never even be mentioned in the same breath, let alone the same book, let alone the same series, like ever. Like you should it. Oh my god! Like it is. Ugh.
The whole slaughterhouse is a rinse and repeat of go into a room, stealth kill an enemy or make their stealth section. Go into the next room, no enemies this time, but you have to take a fuse out of the wall from power and put it in another power section to open a gate. Go to the next room and it's a maze of red and blue lasers, which by the way, Double H without a helmet can run through all lasers with no problem.
He was saying that his armor is the armor that those guys have is deflected
Right.
lasers. They can walk
Laser
through it all,
proof.
yeah.
but he's
And it
not
shows
wearing a
'cause-
helmet.
Yeah, the lasers
True.
are right here. It's fine.
That's true.
No, no, there are many that he runs through that
sure?
are all the way to the sea.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
One
I
of
just
them
don't-
100%.
It doesn't matter because his brain's been scrubbed, so
Yeah.
there's nothing else left there to
Exactly.
fry.
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt anything.
so
I
that's
love
that whole
he says
section.
multiple times, he's like, Jay, they scrubbed my brain real good, and it's just like, what the fuck, dude?
Well, he also calls us. What was the other name?
Thyris,
Iris,
because she said,
yeah.
she said, "Are you part of Iris?" And he goes, "Sure, I'm part of Thyris, Miss Thyris." And you're like, she goes, "My name's Jade, silly." Like she keeps doing it over and over. Like she's like,
No, but
it's like more and more playful each time, and so he calls
But
her Miss Thyris all the time.
But the Shari part, right? Wasn't the name Shari?
I think
Shawnee.
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 And that's
Shawnee.
like her
He
code
calls
name.
her Shawnee once or twice in.
Well, it also happens
In the
in your
slaughterhouse.
M discs, so I think that's what they call you.
Yeah, it is.
That's like
It's
her
her
code
code
name.
name.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
your code name. Okay.
But so here's the thing, though, is that and this
This was
brings
never
us up.
discussed.
No, it wasn't.
So they,
but you kind of figure it out. I guess.
They do mention your code name in the very beginning. Like
Sure.
when you first sign up with Iris, she goes, "Call me Shawnee," and then you're like, "Okay, great, I get whatever that means."
Yeah, I do vaguely remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But my problem, here's the thing they don't mention is why fucking alien fucko from nowhere knows that as
Wouldn't
my
know it.
name, and
Yeah.
like, how do you know it? And what? Now I'm sure they'll end up showing like he was invaded in the ISIS system.
They
or
were
Iris
intercepting your
systems the whole
messages
time.
the entire time.
Yeah, or whatever. But like, if there's no indication that that's the case, so he's like, "Your soul for his life, Shawnee," and you're like,
There's gonna be
how
something
do
at the
you-
end going, "We wanted you to be here at the moon the whole time. This is all
Yeah.
our plan." That's what it's gonna be.
It
Yeah.
100% will. So yeah, to Preston, to your point, this was the worst version of the governor not letting you out because you eventually have to get out of the slaughterhouse, which is a pretty long section because it's broken up by the canals, and then when you're inside all the stealth sections and stuff, it's pretty long, and you have to backtrack all the way out through all of those canals, but you can't do any of it until you do everything, take all the pictures to get the code, to then drive to the first canal, to dock, to hop out, to type in the code, to hop in, and then leave again. And it was just that whole section. So just so everyone knows, we have not found Paige still. Paige
Well-
was going up.
We found them. We found him getting put in a rocket, and
Right. So Right, so we still haven't like rescued him, but he was going up, putting a rocket, and he leaves, and we know that our ship is capable. There's a ship capable of going to the moon back on Hillis, and it's a big part of the plan.
A little adorable
yeah,
note.
Right,
the
so
or whatever it's
we
called.
know where we're going, but like we still don't have him.
Kind of do.
So that whole section is just us taking more photos, still not getting answers. And doing some of the most infuriating things until the boss. What was the boss of that section? It was
The boss of this section. It was a different type of boss because you did it with. I feel bad. I don't remember now. I don't feel that bad, but
I don't either. That's how forgettable.
Yeah,
that
I
thing
mostly
was.
all the section was the canals that I remember that was really.
I'll say I don't think
frustrating.
there even was a boss. I think you just go in there, you get your evidence. The bosses are the level design, and that's it. I'm pretty sure because like you're just trying to avoid the
think
guys and
I think
lasers.
you're right.
Yeah, I don't think there is not a boss to fight in this. As far as I remember.
Unless there's like a secret one.
No, because I would have thought. So the boss then would actually be coming out of the slaughterhouse.
Oh, you faced the little bone snake monster thing,
Yeah.
which you faced already in the very beginning of the game.
You sure did.
Yes, except this time you have to beat it with the hard shot. Yeah, no, there is no boss in that one. So
Okay,
that whole
I think so,
section
yeah.
is just taking photos. Yes, there was a section, and this is the last thing I'll say as we're getting to the end. And this is the moment where I thought like this whole playthrough has been the worst bit of a mechanic. Like it's just like mechanic hell. This whole section. There were more than one rooms, but one or two rooms specifically that I remember where there were 3 of the Alpha Sector like big the elites, and my camera would be stuck either straight up and down or in a little wall because the hallways were so narrow that I was trying to fight shielded dudes that I could never see. Multiple times has happened, and I would just like hit A and start hitting X until it would bump me out far enough in the room that I could see that I was hitting them, and then the next one would come up and he would knock me back and the camera would be stuck again.
So I had the same
And I
issue
would
with the
just have-
cameras, but this was in a section that you'll remember. It's you and Captain Quark are hitting buttons here and there to kind of get him back up there, but there's just 2 spots that kind of dip down, and there's 2 lasers that spin around in a circle. And what you're supposed to do is crouch below those lasers. As soon as you get on the floor that those lasers are on,
yeah.
the camera changes on you to where you can't see those lasers when they come. And they're not going in a perfect parallel. Like they're like kind of doing like one of these numbers, and you have to hope that you get up there without getting hit. Luckily, it doesn't take too much health, but the camera fucks you every time. And a lot of times, like when you're hiding and stealthing behind things, you have to press like down to look up, and then it pops like your camera up and not your character. And it's just, there's so many times where that camera just would go, like every time I wanted to do something, like that's not the angle I want.
If you looked up or looked down, so when you got on those side platforms before you got in the part you're talking about, the camera would almost lock itself center, and if you looked up or looked down on those sections, it would freak out. It would jerk straight up or straight down, and then once you got down in the middle, you're right, it just changed completely, and it's
bad.
The camera
Bad.
angles were so frustrating this whole section.
It's very bad.
So
So
we only
the
have
last
a
thing
little
I
bit.
want to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is literally the last thing I have to say for the whole, like this whole section, or for the game, as far as what we played. I know we gave some hot takes today. I'm sure to this community of people that love this game. I do want to issue one apology though. I think that clearly, given the level of characterization and everything that has happened so far, I was a little hard on Paige in the beginning, being like, I don't understand why people love this guy so much. Like, it's just a very one-note character.
Best character in the
You know
entire
what? It is the best character in this fucking game, and it is mind-blowing that is the case, but there it is. When in the factory, when he's first getting captured and he is getting taken away, and he's like yelling at them about being piece of shit cops and traitors and yada yada yada, and he's like, "Let me go, you pieces of shit!" Like blah blah blah. I was like, this is like some of the lines were actually kind of funny, and I'm like, I understand why people like him now, because he's the only source of light in this hell that we have found ourselves in. Like, he is the only beacon that keeps on giving exactly what he gave you in the beginning, and I just Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I've come around on Paige in a way that I did not expect, and it's mostly because the game he finds himself in is just so fucking god awful.
Very well known.
He hasn't even been around for like two
know,
areas either. He's not even there.
The entire time, I'm just like missing. I'm just like, I wish Paige was back. Mm-hmm. I'd rather hear more nonsense from him about, you know, a fucking stupid patch job that he did on an elevator than hear one more second of fucking Carlson and Rufus or whatever the fuck Captain Quark yells every single time that he does something, or he talks about the heroes blah 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 823 section 4 a buddy, you'll never leave a buddy behind, or whatever the fuck it is. And it's just like, God, dude, I can't, like, and I can't unsee this now. I never really noticed, but Preston brought it up. But God, dude, the lazy eye that this guy has is like, I think so indicative. It's so indicative of, you know what? And I don't think that it's on purpose now, or I think that it's just how he's decided. Because there's the fucking moment when he comes out of the Iris base after he gets healed. Because they say, by the way, he's on the operating table, he passes out from the antidote, and they go, give him a couple weeks and he'll be just fine. Like, just go ahead and do your thing. And he immediately shows up behind you.
As soon as you're about to leave, yeah.
As soon as, like, without saying a single word, he goes, the fucking heroes stick together. But when he does it, his eyes are like,
it's like, which hero, buddy? Which hero are you looking at? Because I don't know if you're looking at me or the one next to me.
And I just now thinking about it, I just wish there was a response that goes, you should probably lay back down. Like, you're not looking so hot. And he's like, we will do this together. Like, and he's just like,
it's like, I think you're still cooking, dude. Bro. You need to go chill out.
I think that antidote has still got some work to do to bring your face back together. And what's funny is because those, like, the DOMs are just like, like, they have no, like, when, like, their face is like that, and so I don't know what happened. But, and you know what's funny is that his model is the exact same as theirs.
Yeah,
it's reused.
It is,
but his model is
their face. His face and their face are the same, like in the model. Yeah,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
So, is that all you have left with the Slaughterhouse, Alex? Because I have like two more things I need to say because we're getting close to the 3-hour time, which sometimes my computer doesn't like.
Yeah, you're good.
So David Gassman is the guy who plays Paige. He actually voices most of the games that have Rayman in it. He voices Rayman from Rayman the games.
Oh, okay.
Also does a lot of voices for Dragon Ball Z movies, where he does Goku and sometimes uncredited as Oolong. And one of them he plays Yamcha, but yeah, he plays Goku in a couple of like Tree of Might, Bardock, Cooler's Revenge, The Return of Cooler, Super Android 13. He does some of them in the dub versions, as far as like the French version, but he also does some English version ones.
He's Goku in the English version?
No, like as far as like the French version, the AB group.
The dub. French, yes, got it. That makes sense. Okay,
now some of them don't say French versions. Some of them just say Goku and don't say the dub. So I think maybe some of them he has some English ones, but he's a very well-known English voice actor because he does a lot of video games, mostly Ubisoft games, but he's in a lot.
I don't know that he's ever done the English version of Goku because that voice actor has been cemented for a very, very long time. But
definitely the French version.
But French, okay.
Yeah, the AB group, which I guarantee must be some wording for French. But yeah, he's in a lot of the other. The dude who does like Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Human, like he does things in there, and apparently he's really well known for his. This is what he's well known for. Indigo Prophecy, the game. So that's a game. He's in there. He's known as Deputy DCM in the Bourne Identity, the Transponder Refueled, and Babylon AD. Is his IMDb known for? I'm like,
Babylon
Rayman
AD.
Should be up
that
there,
was,
but yeah.
Wasn't Babylon AD the John Travolta movie that was the sci-fi not great?
No, that's Vin Diesel for Babylon AD.
Yeah, but yes, it was
still
not great. But either way, the Indigo Prophecy makes sense because you would obviously just go from one trash game to another one with David Cage. Sure. So
yeah, he goes all
knock yourself out.
I played a little bit further because I was the one who decided that we should not do the ending as well as far as the moon because I was getting into it. I was a good like 4 or 5 hours almost into these two.
It took me 4.5.
So I was getting there like, okay, well, obviously I gotta get a whole bunch more pearls because they give you that drop of 12. I had like 2 more pearls, 3 more pearls, and you need the drop of 20 to get the flight stabilizers, and then later on you gotta get 30 to get the moon rocket, whatever the fuck is in the way back. So you gotta get a lot more pearls. There are places that you get dumps of pearls rather than just one, so you can get that. Obviously you need the pearl tracker to try to get all these. But here's one thing: have you guys found before you guys stopped? Did you guys find the ship?
No. I didn't go look.
Do you want to try to figure it out, or do you want me to help you right now and save you probably about a half an hour to 45 minutes?
Well, I have a guide, so I'll know right where it is.
No, you don't want it?
No.
I was fucking furious. I'm sitting there 45 minutes. I'm like,
you were.
What the fuck? You say there's these codes I need, and don't know where the fuck they are. It is the absolute worst. You're gonna fucking hate it, and if you feel free to text us...
Why don't you want to know?
Because the game should tell you. The game should show you. The game should teach you. And if it doesn't, then I want to be frustrated.
It's gonna be in a spot that you would never expect because you never do these things with these items except for maybe once or twice at the very beginning of the game. You may do something that you would be able to figure out something like that, but there's no way in hell that you'd be able to figure it out. I fucking looked it up on the guide. I'm like, fuck this. I've been looking around for way too long. Like, I can't find it. I find them, like, great. So let's go to the one spot that I think you need to do it. Guess what? You don't enter the code twice into the one spot. There's 2 spots. That's the only clue I'm going to give you.
Okay. Fantastic.
This game's fucking... It's fun.
It's going to be...
Solid game.
It will have to end some special way for us to eat crow on this right now. Like, it's just where we're sitting.
I'm not worried about it.
And we'll talk about too, like how hype we were going into it to experience this versus what's happened.
We're all super excited to play this.
But
legendary.
So go back and look at the episode. Like we were like all of us were talking like, oh man, we haven't played this before. It would be interesting to go and see. People talk about it all the fucking time, and now I'm just like, why are people talking about it in any form that's not? How did this not bankrupt Ubisoft? Like, how did this game launch?
Because they only let 30 people make it, and they're like, oh, you kids go off and do your thing.
Yeah.
So
we only have one section left, which will be clean. If you want to clean up, I'll be doing clean up, and then of course we're going to
the parts.
We're going to the moon.
Apparently,
I'm doing the bare minimum.
Still a lot.
Yeah. So
I know.
I mean, I'm already sitting at like 29 pearls, so I'll be
good
fine.
for you. I'm very happy for you.
But
you're spend 20 of those on the flight stabilizer, and you have to get another 30 to get the other piece.
I'm not worried about it. That's what the guide's for. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot left. We're playing to the end, so if you're playing along with us, we are headed to the end. If you've been playing along with us, keep trucking because we are too. I'm sorry you had to go through that this week. But yeah, Preston asked on social media on this week's post, so it will be last week's post when you hear this.
Feel free to let us know in the comments.
If you get a chance, let us know in the comments. Like if you played this game, if you loved it, tell us why.
If we're wrong, we would love to hear how we're wrong. I'd love to be like, you know what? Here's a little piece that you need to. Like, okay, well, putting things aside, maybe. Don't get me wrong. I think the characters and the world itself is not horrible. That's
maybe it's this. I have a theory. Maybe it's because this game is beloved by its European audience, and it's because they're so used to the trash PAL versions of games that they got that this just is par for the course. This just makes sense for them.
Everything's supposed to suck. Games are supposed to just suck. And we're supposed to take whatever.
Games are just supposed to suck. They're just supposed to break and do stupid shit and not work all the time, and that's just how games are. And I bet you
it's just games.
There's a young Jimmy Ryan who played this game and was just like, this is the pinnacle of the shitty broken games that I love.
Jim Ryan wearing a fucking Beyond Good and Evil shirt underneath his goddamn blazer to some E3 looking event.
That's my guess. That's where I'm at.
I would love to see what the sequel would be if it ever comes out.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, God, if there's a sequel, it better be. It better be a completely different game.
It is.
I know, but I just mean like it better be. It shared nothing. Don't take a single thing.
It didn't look like it was. So.
I mean, no, Jade's there in the trailer, and Paige is there in the trailer. Yeah, Jade. So I watched it the other day.
The new trailer shows none of that.
The second trailer shows none of that.
It's it's completely redone.
Yes. It's just the second trailer is a bunch of and the weird gang people.
The second trailer is a bunch of anthropomorphic like a bunny and all this other shit.
Because are you talking about the one where they're on the ship at one point, right? People are hungover.
I don't know.
Like the monkey,
I don't remember them.
So the monkey gets on the ship, and he's some like disembodied voice is talking to him, and they're like, "Oh, I can't have any more of your drink. Everybody's still feeling it from last night." And the monkey's like, "Blah blah blah blah," and they start panning to different areas of the ship, and laying on the looks like the medic table on its side is Jade.
Okay. So she's not like a lively character. The only like female character I saw was that one super cool looking black lady. But yeah.
Yes, yeah, no. This like Jade is like laying on her side, and like the light's not really on her, but you can still see green pants.
She's
green
probably got
shirt,
green
like,
pants, green hair.
I wish I had enough money to buy Ubisoft
gonna
so
watch
that I
that trailer.
could cancel this game myself.
I would love to see it.
I'm gonna go watch the trailer.
Good. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the trailer now too. Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the trailer again too when we're done.
Let's get off of this and let's watch it on Discord.
That is it for us tonight, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll be back with the final episode. Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it!
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.